1017, Jock's 94.5. Welcome in. This is the Thursday edition of Three Man Front. Pat, Molly, Conrad with you until 2 o'clock. Lange will be back with us on Monday. A lot of things happening, including Chad Baker-Mazara has entered the transfer portal from Auburn University. It's interesting, and I completely forgot the fact that he was dismissed from the Aztecs for San Diego State for academic reasons, and then he spent 1 year at Northwest Florida State College before he transferred to Auburn. So if he ends up going somewhere else, coming out of the transfer portal to play, it would be his fifth stop in his college career, which is kind of like the norm now for almost everybody.
Well, as we know, the spring weather in Alabama can be really unpredictable, so that's why you need the reliability of a Trane, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. And right now, you can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Trane home comfort systems. So to find out more, go and visit Trane.com.
All right, so the very latest from Nico. Yesterday afternoon, Bruce Feldman from The Athletic, he reported that Nico is expected to transfer to UCLA. Radio host Colin Cowherd said that the departure from the Vols was about Heupel's offense. Just after the portal closed in December, Father Nick joked on Twitter about his son needing help with UT's roster. This was what Nick had posted on Twitter. I'm just reading this directly. I did not write this. When we going to request transfer papers? I found out that I had some years of eligibility left, so Hype in Tennessee agreed to let me play O-line and wide receiver, but not tight end. Nico will be protected by me, and I'll go catch for him. That's what I know. You're making a face, Conrad. That's what his father wrote on X on December 29th.
What?
Yes. Because that's one of the stories out there now. Colin Cowherd said it was about the offense. Another family friend is saying it's the fact that Tennessee did not go out and get enough help through the transfer portal. Now, they did sign, I believe, a couple offensive linemen, I think one wide receiver in the first portal.
Yeah, their leading receiver returning for next year from UCLA had 239 receiving yards.
For the Bruins?
For the Bruins.
Okay.
That's what he's... Well, he wanted the weapons at Tennessee. He needed the better offensive line. So surely he's going to go somewhere that has that stuff already, right?
So various reports indicate that the Bruin NIL offer for Nico is less than $2 million.
I saw 1.7.
Which is less than $2 million.
Yes.
Now, UCLA's current top quarterback, Joey Aguilar, who is a transfer from App State, his NIL is $1.2 million. And word is that his people, as of yesterday afternoon, were immediately kicking the tires in the portal, potentially, of seeing where he could go.
That's just wild. You go out on the portal, you find a quarterback you like, you pay him over $1 million, and just like that,
Out
chop
the door.
liver.
Yeah.
Don't care about you anymore.
So now there's all sorts of storylines developing, and we're ultimately going to hear Nico's side of things. But it's very fascinating when you start reading these different articles that are coming out from friends of the family or the Nico camp, making certain allegations about why they did or did not stay in Tennessee.
So all of these quotes and things that are coming out from his camp, we all just assume that this is his dad, right?
I would think his dad is giving this information to someone who is acting as the family spokesperson.
Correct. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
A family friend told Front Office Sports that Nico's representatives had a conversation with head coach Josh Heupel and explained what they would need in order for Nico to stay. Big Nick said, "We want you guys to reassure us that you're going to recruit and get the O-line right, that you're going to go out there and you're going to get receivers." End of quote. The family friend denies that these conversations had anything to do with money, that it was all about personnel and the roster. There's also a story that came out by CBS Sports that said that Nico skipped practice as a mental reset.
Okay.
Well, we all need a mental health day, right?
He wasn't planning on transferring, according to the story. CBS Sports reported that the reset was needed after his name trended on social media for 24 hours. So he was so exhausted mentally because his name. Do you think his name trended, Molly, after they got embarrassed by Ohio State in the college football playoff?
No, There's no way.
Do you think Nico's name trended after he ran out of bounds against Arkansas instead of throwing the ball in the end zone?
Oh,
This is bizarre.
yeah.
I'm just telling you what the story reads. It was a mentally a reset after his name trended on social media for 24 hours. All right, here's another part of the story. Nico skipped practice because he had already decided to transfer. This is directly from the front office sports story. The family friend says his absence was because he had already decided to transfer before practice began. It was not because he was a holdout or part of a negotiating tactic.
So he decided he was going to transfer between the time he left dinner with the other quarterbacks on Thursday night and then whenever practice started on Friday morning. Man, he must have been tossing and turning all night, just couldn't sleep.
Maybe it wasn't a good dinner.
Maybe not. Maybe
this
he got
is
food
the turning
poisoning.
point for me.
Yeah, he got food poisoning. He's like, I'm out.
I'm done.
I'm done with this East Tennessee food.
Can't stay here.
I'm out. Here's another part of the story. Nico's camp maintains they didn't steer him wrong. Remember, I read that quote yesterday. His representatives said that we did not steer him wrong. At the end of the day, what did we do that was wrong to steer him and put him in a bad situation? We didn't. End of quote.
I'm sure in their mind they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true from their standpoint.
So I do want to go back to what Colin Cowherd said. So Colin Cowherd said that Nico transferring was because of Tennessee's offense. But if you go back and you look at the history of Josh Heupel's offenses, do you realize that Nico was the least productive quarterback to date
he's ever had, even going back to Kent State? Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So
we're
talking
pretty good quarterbacks too.
We're talking Utah State, Missouri, Central Florida, and Tennessee.
Or Utah State, not Kent State.
Yeah, Utah State. That was Kent Myers and Chucky Keaton. Those were the quarterbacks for Josh Heupel. And I know this morning on Morning Jocks, Conrad, you brought up some of the numbers and some of the things in regards to the offensive excuse about leaving Tennessee.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, Pat. So we'll start here. This is I didn't share this morning, but we were talking about the offensive line, right? You wanted offensive line shored up because you didn't think he was being protected. All right, so Nico was sacked 28 times last year at Tennessee. Ethan Garbers, who was the starting quarterback for UCLA last year, he was sacked 32 times.
Okay.
So not trending in the right direction there.
No.
Let's look at total offense last year. All right, Tennessee, I think we would all agree Nico didn't live up to expectations, right?
True.
Tennessee still averaged 35.7 points per game and 447 yards of offense.
That's good.
Pretty good, right?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. UCLA, on the other hand, so Tennessee was third in the SEC in total offense last year. UCLA was 15th in total offense in the Big Ten last year. They averaged 18 points a game, almost half of what Tennessee did, and 328 yards per game. So 120 yards per game less of offense and 17.5 points less per game on average. But it was the offensive system and Heupel's system. That's the reason that Nico didn't reach the expectations that were put upon him. But now he's going to do that at UCLA behind an offensive line that gave up more sacks, scored half the amount of points that Tennessee did last year, and averaged over 100 less yards of offense per game.
So let's just go back to his time at Tennessee for Josh Heupel. In 2021, Hendon Hooker, almost 3,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Great year. Yep.
2022, Hooker, 3,100 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Another great year. Yep.
So Joe Milton didn't quite live up to the Hendon Hooker portfolio, but he had 2,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Nico last year had 2,600 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
And I think that was one of the more damning things about Nico as well, was going into the year. I mean, heck, you can ask Damian, who, the Heupel disciple, right? It was, thank God Joe Milton's gone, right? That was our year. We had a buffer year between Hendon Hooker. We're getting this Nico guy, but we need someone to come in here, fill the gap for a year. Nobody had high expectations for Joe Milton. He didn't have a great year. He had a better year than Nico. Like, that's the point where I think that's what people are struggling with, is you were somehow worse than Joe Milton, who, by the way, got drafted, still went to the NFL, just got traded for after his rookie year because he looked so good in the limited action that he had. And you want to leave the coach that was able to turn Joe Milton into a quarterback people want to trade for in the NFL. so you can go play at UCLA for a team that averaged 18 points a game last year.
Well, I mean, not to mention the fact that Heupel got Hooker and Milton both drafted.
Oh, yeah.
That's the goal, right?
Absolutely.
When you sign your kid up to go play for whoever, you want them developed. You want to put good numbers together and be able to get drafted and go play for the Shield.
Hendon Hooker would have probably won the Heisman Trophy if he didn't destroy his leg his last season. Seriously, if he didn't have that big injury, he was probably going to win the Heisman.
Well, Molly read this quote yesterday, and we actually have audio of the quote. So Cam Newton yesterday on his podcast, they were very quick. They put this clip out. So this is from Cam Newton's podcast. This is what his team sent out yesterday about talking about what's going on with Nico.
Whoever gave him the advice to sit out killed that kid. Regardless of how you bounce back from this, you will be the example. He will have this as a stain on his career, and it's sad. I just hate that Nico, who's a good kid, who's a great guy, family is unbelievable, had the opportunity to see Nico. He came to my QB challenge a couple years ago. And to observe him for those multiple days, I did not see this coming. But what I do understand about kids and college athletes is they're getting it from so many different, but bro, if I was you, you heard how much he signed for? Just imagine, real example. When Carson Beck left Georgia to go to Miami and he realized, like, Carson Beck made $10 million? I'm better than Carson Beck. I know I can slap him for 12, but I'm just making 1.7, 2 million, 3. What NIL was and is intended for, it's just to make your college experience comfortable. This is not forever money. If you're getting advice from somebody who ain't never been in your situation, bro, man, you got to cite that. So, you know, when you used to write the papers and the teacher used to always say, you got to cite the source. Wikipedia is not a reliable source. There's not a more influential person in my life than my father. But there's certain things that my father can and cannot advise me on. And that's just respect. If Nico would have been successful at holding out, it would have started.
Everybody sitting there all across. No.
Understand, can you come back from this? Absolutely. The main thing is becoming the best football player that you possibly can be. The money will come.
That was Cam Newton yesterday on his podcast. Some interesting comments in regards to Nico's situation at Tennessee and where he could potentially end up. As of this moment, there's been no official announcement in regards to what's happening with UCLA and Nico. Bruce Feldman reported yesterday, Colin Cowherd both mentioned the fact that that's where he was going to end up. So we'll wait and see what happens. Next on Three Man Front, we're going to go to Rocky Top. Ryan Callahan from Go Vols 247. He will join the program. We'll get his take on the activities of the last week there on Rocky Top and what's next for the Tennessee Vols at the quarterback position. That's all next on Three Man Front. It is 10:34, Jocks 94.5. Our next guest has been very busy, always is busy in the Southeastern Conference. Ryan Callahan, outstanding job covering the Tennessee Vols for Go Vols 247, joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. Just a nice, quiet springtime up on Rocky Top, right, Ryan? Nothing going on?
Yeah, nothing going on. Spring practice just wrapped up, so we're just hanging out.
All right, so I want to go back throughout the football season. Had you had any inkling at all, or you guys at Go Vols 247 heard any rumors behind the scenes that maybe Nico's camp was not very pleased with their current situation financially?
Well, this surfaced around the winter portal opening in December. So there were some rumors, there was some conversation back at that time that there was at least some talk at the time of will Nico Iamaleava enter the portal, and that didn't happen. In hindsight, I think we've learned a little bit more about what happened at that time. From what I understand, there were some conversations, maybe even just one about money that took place around the deadline to enter the portal, maybe in the final hours leading up to the portal closing for that winter window after Tennessee lost in the college football playoff at Ohio State. So I don't think that was the only thing that was discussed at that time. I think there were some conversations around that time about getting some other players in, trying to solidify the offensive line, which was losing at least 3 starters, now has lost 4. Getting some wide receiver help in. So there were some conversations about multiple things, but money did come up at some point, from what I understand, during that time. And so this, that sort of left people wondering where things were, because it wasn't at the forefront then, but it clearly was something that was going to be revisited at some point. So I think at the same time, there was some optimism that it was going to get worked out because it didn't result in him entering the portal and they didn't make it a bigger issue at the time. And obviously Tennessee had been, they'd invested pretty heavily in Nico from the start while he was in high school. So I think there was this belief that it would eventually get worked out, whatever their demands were going to be. And then it, kind of dragged on and it became more apparent, throughout the winter and into the spring that this was still a lingering issue and that it wasn't getting resolved. And so, obviously things kind of came to a head last week, but yeah, this was always kind of lingering in the background, and we weren't necessarily expecting it to be a big issue for Tennessee, but it wasn't shocking when it resurfaced as a major issue because it was something that we knew was not really addressed in the winter, even though he didn't enter the portal at the time. So kind of a weird deal, and not something you see very often because in most cases like that, players are threatening to enter the portal in December, and something's taken care of right then because people don't want to get in this situation. They don't want to be in the portal in the spring when the options are fewer, you have less leverage. It's just not as good of a situation. So people were surprised at the time that this was, they didn't think it was going to be a big issue since they didn't enter the portal at the time. It's just really unusual for someone to handle it that way.
So, Ryan, I wanted to ask you about Nico specifically in the sense that, I don't know how much or what kind of interaction you might have had with him over the last couple of years at Knoxville, but it seems like everybody that's coming out and saying how great of a teammate he is or how likable of a guy he is, how great the family is. And so it's just kind of bizarre the way that this has all unfolded. So I was just curious from your perspective, like, is that what you had always heard is, yeah, Nico's this great guy. Everybody loves him, kind of lights up a room, great teammate. Cause it's just interesting that you hear all those things. And then based on what's happened over the last 6 days, it just doesn't add up to a lot of people.
Yeah, there was always, Nico is a very, very likable, approachable guy for most people. I think any interactions most people have with him are generally pretty positive. I don't know that he was, this extremely popular figure in the locker room because he, I think in some cases he kind of kept to himself, just sort of had some different relationships with different groups, but was not the natural leader in the locker room that you'd maybe hoped he would be, because there was this sense coming out of high school that he had this kind of personality that people would sort of gravitate toward. And he hadn't developed that big voice yet in the locker room the way some quarterbacks naturally do, or at least grow into after a couple of years. He was getting there, but was not quite there. So yeah, generally though, he comes off as a really likable young man and no major issues there. He's, he doesn't act too big for anybody or like a jerk or anything like that. So yeah, that part, I think clashes a bit with the perception people have of him now. But that's where I think the sort of the family dynamic and some of the other people in his circle kind of come into play. And obviously his father's gotten a lot of attention from this. He's obviously heavily involved with all of his dealings, and people have kind of wondered how much is he steering the ship, that kind of thing, in negotiations, and how much does this have to do with him, or the Cordell Landers, another guy in their circle that's been been mentioned in some of these stories that have been written about this situation. So that there is definitely some of that's fair, that like those are some of the voices that have probably made things a little more complicated here. That this is not necessarily just Nico like himself asking for more money, and so that's why I think there's a little bit of disparity between how he's viewed by the people who know him and the way he's being viewed in this situation, because it's not just his voice, it's not just his decision, I would say, in all these cases.
Ryan Callahan joins us here on Three Man Front from GoVols 247, talking about the Nico's situation. So as this story was percolating, and then the news came out Friday that he was a no-show at practice, from the people that you talked to, was this a very difficult or lengthy decision process for Tennessee to decide that they were going to move on? Or was there that let's communicate, let's try to find out what's going on, and we might be able to save this thing?
Well, it's interesting how this has been presented. Obviously, there was that story, the initial story Saturday morning from Pete Thamel on ESPN that Tennessee was moving on from Nico. But really what happened was he didn't show up at practice on Friday, and then Tennessee made attempts to contact him, which were unsuccessful. So he essentially ghosted them all day Friday. And then he reached out to Joey Halsey, the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, late Friday night to let him know that he was submitting his paperwork to enter the transfer portal. So it's being presented in a lot of cases as though Tennessee chose to move on, but really what happened is Nico told them he was leaving. so it's it's kind of like, well, no, I broke up with them. Whichever side you want to listen to, it doesn't make a huge difference. So, but I don't think there was really a decision for Tennessee to make. I think all this kind of came to a head because it was obvious that Nico was going to enter the portal. I think the original decision from him and his family was they were just going to kind of quietly enter the portal. They were going to finish spring practice. If things were not resolved, I think they still would have probably ended up in the portal, because Tennessee seemed pretty unlikely to move off its stance that he was not worth $4 million, the reported number that's been thrown out there that I've heard as well, that he or his family were asking for, and Tennessee didn't seem, I think Tennessee did. I have learned that Tennessee has made some attempts to sort of try to meet them halfway or get a little closer to the number they wanted. I don't think it was accepted as a hey, we're close or anything like that. So those offers were kind of rebuffed at the time, and the family seemed pretty immovable on that number they were seeking, I think. So talks didn't really get anywhere, and it was pretty obvious he was headed to the portal. So there weren't the report last week initially from On3 suggested there were negotiations. That report wasn't wrong, but there really weren't any negotiations going on at that point. It was just sort of okay, what's next? Because this doesn't seem like it's going to end with anything other than him entering the portal unless something changes. And obviously that's where things went, but still a massive blunder, I think, on his part to not go to practice Friday and just kind of go through spring practice quietly and finish things out. That clearly would have been the better move, I think, and might have even helped his market in the transfer portal. You never know, but certainly the way he handled it has resulted in Tennessee fans making him kind of public enemy number one, and it might have even caused some teams to back off of him, now that he's in the transfer portal.
Ryan Callahan, GoVols 247, joining us here on the Higginbotham Hotline, breaking down what's going on with Nico and the Tennessee Volunteers. So, Ryan, I do want to look at the other side quickly of Tennessee, the aftermath of this situation with Nico. I know one of the popular names that's been thrown out there was Avery Johnson, the Kansas State quarterback. What are you hearing about potential replacements, guys that we could maybe see enter the portal to be that replacement for Nico there in Knoxville?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. These are tricky deals because there aren't many big names in the transfer portal right now, and I think that's the hope for Tennessee has been that some decent names would surface. A proven starter at least the FBS level, but ideally at the Power 4 level. And we've not really seen that yet. We've not seen a whole lot of those types of guys in the portal. We'll see what surfaces, but yeah, there are obviously some In a lot of these cases, there's some behind the scenes conversations going on, agents reaching out to schools like this when there's an obvious opening like this, and you never know what might come of it. But, some of those guys like Avery Johnson, they're established starters at their schools. And that's the tricky part of this is anyone like that going to enter the portal, especially if they're in kind of a make or break year for their NFL draft stock, and learning a new offense in 4 months, that's a big ask for some of these guys that feel they're in pretty good situations. And there also might be questions that, because whether it's fair or not, or whether it was really part of the equation or not, I think Nico's camp kind of throwing out there that they weren't thrilled with the talent around him at the wide receiver position and things like that. That might cause some people to have some questions too, that make it a little, at least give some players some hesitation to rush into that situation. But the big thing I think is learning a new offense in 4 months. We saw Joe Milton do it in 2021 when Josh Heupel arrived at Tennessee. He came in after spring practice. First couple games were okay, but nothing special. And then Hendon Hooker ends up taking the job after Milton gets banged up a little bit. So it's been done, but it's not always a great thing. And then we've seen plenty of Tennessee players on offense kind of take a big jump forward in year 2 in that Josh Heupel system. So it is a challenge, I think, to come in and do that on short notice. And I think that's one of the reasons they're, I think they've had probably at least a few swings and misses, maybe behind the scenes from what I understand. We'll see how much that continues. But I think there's going to be only so many players that are interested in making that kind of move at this point. So it's just a matter of finding one that's a quality option. And if not, they've still got Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre's internal options. They could always go to, looking for a guy who can compete with those guys or a backup. So it's not just looking for a new starter, but I think that is kind of plan A. And I think that we're still kind of figuring out what's realistic and what's not. And there's really not any one particular name that we're zeroing in on at this point, because I think you're kind of casting a wide net and seeing what's possible.
Final question. Have the expectations for Tennessee for 2025, has that been reset now because of the quarterback situation?
Yeah, I think it's kind of on hold. I think no one really knows what to think. If you're not looking at a new starting quarterback, probably by the end of this month, I think this will move pretty quickly. But certainly by the end of this month, with the portal closing in another week or so, I think that's going to raise some concerns that Tennessee does have a lower ceiling for sure. Even though Jake Merklinger is just kind of an unknown, we don't know that he's not going to be anywhere near as good as Nico. But Nico had some limitations last year, frankly, that his numbers. It's been written about a lot, but in SEC play against some of the top teams they played in the conference, his numbers weren't spectacular. Most of his touchdown passes came against weaker competition. So and there was a big jump he needed to make this year. So who's to say that the offense will be significantly worse? I think that's one side of this. Even if you had to go with a Jake Merklinger or a true freshman and George McIntyre, I think there's still maybe some cautious optimism that it wouldn't be as big of a drop off as people are thinking. But yeah, if Tennessee doesn't bring in a new starter from somewhere else that's more proven, I think that is going to, in some people's mind at least, lower the ceiling. And I think that the expectations won't be as much that, hey, this is a fringe college football playoff team. It might be just a 7, 8, 9 win team, and you're not sure where they'd fall in that range. If they bring in a proven guy, I think it goes right back to where it was before. I think so. It really does just depend on what comes out of this next week or so, and if Tennessee can find anyone in the portal that really, kind of reestablishes this as a potential playoff team. Because I think it wouldn't take a top 5 quarterback coming in here for fans to think that was possible, but you do have to find someone, I think, a little more proven to make people feel that this is a team that really is on that trajectory still.
Outstanding coverage of the Tennessee Vols at GoVols247, Ryan Callahan. Ryan, always appreciate your time and insight. We hope to catch up with you again soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks. That's Ryan Callahan joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. When we come back on 3-Man Front, we'll kind of unpack some of the things that Ryan told us about the situation on Rocky Top. Plus, a big name from the University of Georgia has just entered the transfer portal. We'll tell you who it is next on 3-Man Front. 10:53, Jocks 94.5. Always appreciate Ryan Callahan. Go Vols 247. Man, anywhere from 7 to 9 wins based on who they get out of the transfer portal. Speaking of the transfer portal, the big story earlier this morning, Chad Baker-Mazara, outstanding forward for Auburn University the last 2 years. He posted on social media that he is going to the transfer portal. He thanked Auburn. Last year, averaged 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 2.7 assists per game. So, oh, wow. We started the show, Molly, with breaking news with Chad Baker-Mazara. Now we're going to go back to the breaking news desk. This time I'm going to send it over to Conrad Van Order, whose mustache and beard looks a little bit better trim than Molly's. Go ahead, Conrad.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. I went to the groomer before the show this morning,
Fantastic.
so I'm glad that it's paying off for me. And yes, we do have a breaking news in the transfer portal here in the Southeastern Conference with the Georgia Bulldogs as wide receiver, and this is just a great name, Nitro Tuggle.
Woo.
Has announced that he is entering the transfer portal.
Nitro.
According to On3 Sports. He is a 6'2", 195-pound receiver, played in 6 games last year for Georgia. He has 3 years of eligibility remaining, but yeah, what a killer name there. So Georgia wide receiver Nitro Tuggle enters the transfer portal.
It's an all-timer.
I could say that all day. It's a great name.
So Nitro is heading to the what an explosive announcement there.
There are so many
Nitro.
jokes that I want to make right now, but I will refrain.
About people getting arrested driving and stuff like that? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. So maybe he wanted to get out of that culture. Maybe that's what it was.
Don't blame him.
Said, I don't want to be a part of this. No.
But you have to admit, it's been very quiet on that front for quite a while now.
It has. They have done better. Credit where credit is due.
All right, speaking about the Georgia Bulldogs, Kirby Smart about a week ago. Now, this is before the Nico stuff. Do we have time for this? Do we need to hold it? Okay, here we go. Here's Kirby Smart. Listen very carefully. This was his thoughts on the current status of the transfer portal.
What I do know is that we're going to continue to recruit people who love football, who are passionate about football, and that don't put money as the number one answer. Like, I've never met a really good player that's all they cared about. So, like, the 105 number, the NIL number, what's the cap number, what is this going to be? There's stuff going on right now, guys, in college football. I mean, there's people reaching out to have a Zoom call and present all the players they represent that are on teams, including our teams. And they want to invite people to the Zoom so they can watch and see who's going in the portal or shopping who's in the portal before the portal. Do you want to get on the Zoom and look at all these players? I'm like, well, what if some of them are mine? I mean, it could be one of the most legendary, moments in all of college sports with what's coming up on this ruling and how people are going to try to manipulate a cap when all we're trying to do is make for competitive balance. And it's really unfortunate that I don't know if competitive balance is going to come out of it. I don't know if the kids win in this model that we currently have, if they win long term.
Fascinating. Talking about Zoom calls from people that are representing players that are on current rosters. And basically you sign on to the Zoom call and you can see all the people.
Yeah, it's like a menu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A la carte. Here you go. I like that Conrad Van Order, that long snapper for Alabama. He's good. We need to look at him.
No Nealon Hibbert, but that's absolutely wild that's how it goes. And you wonder, we hear all this stuff about tampering. It's like, yeah, it's going on. If you have a full-on presentation for coaches of, hey, this is what's going to be available, sneak peek, these guys, it's not public yet, but go ahead and get your offers in now. Something's got to change.
And see, that's the whole thing. It's so blatant now. It's so over the top, in your face. It goes back to what
they know they're untouchable.
Mike Gundy said it a week and a half ago. I don't even know what the rules are, and to be honest with you, I don't care what they are because who's going to enforce them?
I was about to say, there basically are no rules.
Yeah. Coming up next on Three Man Front, Rodney Orr from Tider Insider. He'll join the program. We'll get his thoughts on Alabama. Are they going to be active in the portal from the football side of things? That's next on Three Man Front. It is 11 o'clock on this beautiful Thursday. Thanks for tuning us in. Pat Smith, Conrad Van Order, Molly Robinson with you. Landrum Roberts covering the beach volleyball championships down at the wonderful Golden Beaches of South Alabama. He'll be back on the show on Monday. First hour of the show, we talked to Ryan Callahan from Go Vols 247, giving us an update from the Tennessee side of things in regards to Nico. The breaking news story yesterday afternoon from Bruce Feldman from The Athletic. He is reporting that all indications are that Nico is going to sign and come out of the portal with the UCLA Bruins. Nothing official as of yet. The transfer portal kind of hit home today in the state of Alabama as Chad Baker-Mazara, outstanding forward for Auburn University, who averaged 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2.7 assists this year for the Auburn Tigers. He is going portaling. This will be his 5th school in his illustrious college career. He scored 18 points on Florida in the Final Four for the Auburn Tigers. He posted on social media, "First, I want to thank God for blessing me with the opportunity to do what I love, but I want to thank my teammates, coaching staff, and the Auburn family for the incredible support for the past 2 years. With this being said, I would be entertaining the transfer portal. Gracias, Auburn." That was from Chad Baker-Mazara. Also at this hour, Lee Corso decides that 38 years, it is time to hang it up. He'll be 90 years old in August. He'll have one more college game day, will be week 1 of the 2025 season. We've been debating on the show where that could potentially be. Could be his alma mater, as Florida State is hosting the Alabama Crimson Tide on that date on August the 30th, or it could be the location of the first ever college game day, which is Columbus, Ohio, as the Buckeyes get ready to host the Texas Longhorns. So let's find out what's going on with the transfer portal when it comes to the University of Alabama. And joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline is Rodney Orr from Tider Insider. Rodney, I hope you're doing well. What is the very latest?
Well, that's a good question.
Kind of
right
quiet.
now, yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, basketball, obviously there's the only name I hear out there in that regard is lately is Cedric Coward from Washington State, a 6'6" wing type player who's really good. He's got it down to, I think, Alabama, Duke, Florida, Kansas, and Washington. We'll see. But that's as far as the basketball transfer portal. Now, as football, we've heard some different things behind the scenes about guys that potentially might leave. Of course, you would hate to speculate on names, but I haven't heard anybody that right now speculated privately that's been maybe what you would consider a significant departure. But and as far as just guys coming in, there's Joe Cotton is a guy that has been mentioned, the offensive lineman from South Dakota, who's pretty highly touted. But other than that, Pat, right now, I haven't heard a ton. I mean, obviously, we've talked about on your show that we felt like tight end would be a position that would certainly get a look. Maybe an offensive lineman. We mentioned Joe Cotton just there, and a punter perhaps. And of course, if you could, maybe a defensive lineman, if you could find an interior guy. But other than that, we really haven't heard a ton yet.
So you're telling me, Rodney, that the former Nebraska and Washington punter McAllister, that's not stealing headlines on Tider Insider today about the transfer portal for Alabama?
Yeah, I saw that yesterday. It just popped up. Somebody sent it to me. And there was some discussion there, but I had no idea at that point if, Alabama would be interested in him. But, yeah, he has hit the portal again. He was at Washington under DeBoer, and then he just transferred to Nebraska in January, so he's back in the portal. But I don't know that that's going to be a player of interest.
No, I saw a lot of people, well, he used to play for Kalen DeBoer, and it's, okay.
A lot of speculation.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I did just want to ask you, because I know after the scrimmage on Monday when we got to hear from DeBoer and the coaches, he was asked about the portal, and he said, we need to find somebody that's going to fit the culture, somebody that's going to come in and do all the things right. But he didn't go too much in depth on specific positions. So I guess that's my question for you, Rodney. I know you mentioned tight end, offensive line, maybe defensive line. Are those kind of the key positions that you would look at for Alabama to make some additions?
Well, I think, probably just thinking on some needs off the top of my head, certainly I think he could probably use another tight end. There's been some injuries at that position, although several of those guys are expected to be ready. Danny Lewis missed all of spring. Josh Cuevas got injured during the spring. Though he did come back, he was in that the final, whatever, the A-Day practice. And then, let's see, Marshall Pritchett's another one, the true freshman. He got injured, but he is expected back. So I do think they could probably use another player there. There's even been talk, maybe two, but I would think at least one perhaps. And if you could find another offensive lineman that can play tackle, the tackle spots, I think that would be key because I just don't think they have a lot of depth right there. Certainly not a much experience depth at offensive tackle. Now they did get some in the spring using Ola Selenin out there at left tackle. Got him a lot of reps, and he's becoming a more and more versatile player. So that was good. But I do think offensive tackle, and again, I think. To me, interior defensive linemen, you really, you need those guys. And I don't know that they've got a lot of depth. And I'll say this too, and they may not, I don't know what their feeling would be, but I still think Alabama needs a guy, maybe if they could find a proven pass rusher, perhaps that might be something that they would consider.
Rodney Orr from Tider Insider joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline here on Three Man Front, joins the program every Thursday. So I was asking someone in Tuscaloosa just a couple of days ago about the percentage chance of all three quarterbacks being in the quarterback room come fall practice. And they said basically it's 50-50. And the one that the elephant in the room, no pun intended, is Austin Mack. Are you hearing any kind of movement on that front? I know it wouldn't shock you if he were to leave for potentially a West Coast team, but what do you think, Rodney? Do you think these are the three quarterbacks that's going to break fall camp?
Well, I'll say this. I hope so. I hope Mack stays. And I know there's been a lot of speculation, so that's why I say, and like you said, there's been so much speculation on Mack. I hope he stays. Again, just watching this practice on Saturday, you can see the arm talent that he has. Now, decision-making, he and Keelan Russell still need to continue to develop that and, improve. And because he did have some bad throws, but I'm telling you, he's got some real arm talent. You can see it. I mean, that's the first time we've been able to really watch him, Austin Mack, from the press box, and you can really get a good vantage point there. And he's got some real talent throwing the football. If he can get that decision-making part down, I think he could be a future player at the position, obviously. So I hope he stays. You need at least three, a minimum of three. So that means if one of these guys leave, then you probably need to find somebody in the portal. So that could be another position.
Rodney Orr from Tider Insider joining us here as he does each and every Thursday on Three Man Front. All right, so I wanted to follow up about the quarterbacks. So kind of a two-parter here for you, Rodney. So first, were you surprised when Ryan Grubb made the comment that he did, essentially saying if Alabama were to play tomorrow, Ty Simpson's going to be the starter? Maybe not that it was Ty Simpson, but the fact that he just came out and put that on record. And to follow that, do you believe from what you've seen from Ty Simpson that he is a quarterback that is capable of getting Alabama back to the college football playoff?
Yeah, I can't say I expected Grubb to say that, but I wouldn't necessarily say I was surprised either, because I think we've all talked about that. We've talked about it here on this segment that we felt like Ty was probably the guy, certainly heading into spring. And I thought, based on the things we heard from the scrimmages, based on what we saw Saturday, he was the guy that kind of just was more consistent, didn't seem to make the better decisions in terms of protecting the football. I think the other two have some little ways to go in that regard. So, I really wasn't like totally surprised by that comment at all. As far as, the question about getting Alabama back in the playoffs, I think Ty certainly has a lot of tools. I really do. I think it's just continuing to build his confidence. I just think the inexperience. He's only thrown, less than 50 balls, I think, in his career here at Alabama, and he's going on year 4. So it's just the inexperience. I still think there's a lot of unknown about him. And I think if he can continue to grow in confidence, maybe the stretch from here to August is going to be really big for him, and the getting into August camp. And I think he's capable of it, certainly, but I still think there's a lot of unknown.
Rodney, in regards to what you saw, you've been to a couple of scrimmages, the final scrimmage on Saturday, a lot of talk about the offense, but I want to go to the other side of the ball. I want to go to the defense. Give us some names, give us some guys that really impressed you when you had an opportunity to be at practice, be at scrimmage, and what you ended up and concluded on Saturday?
Well, I still am impressed with the defensive line in terms of just the job that David Ballou and his staff have done, just developing these guys physically. I mean, there's several of those guys, you look at them athletically, they look great physically on the hoof, all of those things. I mean, I think it's a group that can be really good. Again, the first three, when you talk about Keenan, James Smith, LT Overton, those guys are pretty well known. I think it's building those younger guys on the interior, like Edric Hill, Jeremiah Beeman. I think both those guys are stepping up. I think Steve Mbamoa, from Canada, that guy is a really good-looking athlete. He's raw. He's a JUCO transfer. He had to come in after 1 year in JUCO, but how fast can he kind of develop? And then I think you look at Keon Keeley. I think he's taken a big step physically. He looks really good at about 6'5", 280. Jordan Renaud is another player on the outside that I think is an outstanding player. So some of those younger guys, and there are others that if they can develop, I think the defensive front can be pretty good. I think, obviously with Deontay Lawson and Justin Jefferson out, those inside backers, whether it was Nakai Hill-Green, the transfer from Colorado, some of the young guys, the three freshmen. And I thought QB Reese, out of Ramsey, he had a really good spring. People, because he's kind of smaller, in terms of height, he might be 6 feet at most, but I thought he had a really good spring. I think he can help Alabama somehow, some way. But the secondary, I really think when you look at this team, two positions that jump out to me just in terms of the depth and the quality of athletes is the wide receiver group and the secondary group. It's pretty fun watching those guys go one-on-one with each other. But I think that secondary group, when you get Damani Jackson back, you get Sab back at safety. I think it's a group with DeJohn Lee, the freshman at corner. He's a guy that I think's going to turn some heads. I think the transfer from Utah, Cam Calhoun, looked really good at times. Zay Mincy at safety with Bray Hubbard, and again, Sab will be back. So, those are some of the names, and we know about Xavier Brown. Deshaun Jones had some moments. Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. So we've rattled off a lot of names there, and I think a lot of those guys are really good players, and they're going to have some good quality depth.
So this might be a little bit of a tricky one for you, Rodney, but, when I look back at last year's team, I look at a guy like Jahad Campbell, who going into the year, you knew he was a good piece, but he ended up being just an absolutely sensational player. Looks like he's going to end up being a first-round pick in the draft next week now. When you look at this year's team, Rodney, is there a player or maybe a couple of guys that you look at? I know we're a few months out from the start of the season, but a guy you look at and go, that person is poised to have a breakout season like Jahad Campbell. That's going to be a household name this fall for Alabama fans.
Well, I tell you, that's in that front seven especially, I don't know that Jahad was, if they can find somebody like that, that would be fantastic. I don't know that they've got somebody that's going to step up and be that at that level. Deontay Lawson, hopefully he's healthy. And I know you're just talking in general, not necessarily an inside backer.
Yeah.
But they could really use somebody to me to step up as a pass rusher. I don't know who that's going to be yet. Obviously Quay Rousseau is a guy that's got some ability, Johans Pierre. And they've got some other guys at that Wolf position. So we'll see. Now, I will say this. The guy who could be really sneaky, if you want to put it that way, is James Smith. I think he's got the potential to be a really dominant, disruptive defensive lineman. And if he steps up to his potential, like we saw him flash against Michigan, you know what? He could be that guy.
All right, Rodney, before we let you go, got to ask you, do you believe next Thursday night that Jalen Milroe will be a first-round pick?
Well, that's a good one. I'm going to say no. But you know what? All it takes is one team.
That's right.
And that's really all it takes. So that's a shaky no, but I'm gonna gamble and say no.
Well, and the reason I set you up for that question, because our Twitter poll question of the day on the show today was, do you believe that Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe will be picked in the first round next week? And 82% of our audience says no.
Ooh.
So
okay.
See, you did not go out on a limb.
No, I didn't. So we'll see. We'll see who's right and who's wrong, right? I look forward to the results of this poll and how it ends up.
That's like you said, it just takes that one team that
That's
wants
right.
him and falls in love with his ability and talent and what they need. I know the New York Giants are working him out I think this weekend, if I read correctly.
I was about to say, I think if you're Jalen Milroe, it's like that, except the Cleveland Browns. You hope they are not the team that is interested in you.
Yes.
Everyone else is fine.
Yes, just not Cleveland. No question.
I've heard the Steelers. Right?
Yeah, the Steelers are a team. Are
I
interested.
think he worked out with the Seahawks yesterday, maybe, or today.
Yep, and the Giants are working him out next couple days. I think the Saints have shown a little bit of interest.
Yeah, Rams.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot.
So we'll see what happens.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, just real quickly, but based on your poll. So if he's not a first-round pick, do you think he's definitely a second-round pick?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe.
So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just, it's just interesting because with the invite, Rodney, that they gave him, 17 players are going to Green Bay, and you just don't want it to be a Will Levis situation that took place a couple of years ago when, it got really awkward with him sitting there with his family and just, pick after pick after pick. It's very interesting. Yep. So we'll see what happens. Well, Rodney, have a good rest of the weekend. And listen, if you have to suspend Conrad for some of the things that he posts on Tighter and Tighter message boards, feel free to. Don't feel like you're obligated to like allow him to spew that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to use Conrad to stir it up.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Rodney.
Thanks, Rodney. Have a good week.
Guys.
All right. Talk to you next week.
Care.
All right.
Y'all
That's
take care.
Rodney Orr joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. More three-man front on this Thursday. This is Jocks 94.5. 11:21, Jocks 94.5. Thanks for tuning us in on this beautiful Thursday. 1-800-239-WJOX. That's the phone number. The courtesy GMC text line is 205-834-9450. Later this hour, we'll talk to Rob Pate, the former outstanding DB for the Auburn Tigers. We'll talk to him about the transfer portal, what's going on with Auburn, his thoughts as spring wrapped up, and also get his thoughts on the passing of Bill Oliver. Brother Bill was one of the greatest defensive coordinators in all of college football, and a better human being, just a really great guy. So we'll talk to Rob Pate, his former coach, Bill Oliver, a little bit later this hour. The courtesy GMC text line is open, Conrad, at 205-834-9450. A lot of people still wanting to chime in about Nico and also Chad Baker-Mazara. If you just now tuned in, he announced on social media that he is entering the transfer portal with 1 year remaining. So Auburn moving on from CBM. Hey, Conrad.
Yep, my mic was off.
There you go.
I was like, is he talking right now?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get him in my comfy spot here. So we have someone chiming in. The first text we actually got today. Have y'all checked on Don Don? I'm glad to know that our other listeners are concerned about Don Don.
The health and welfare of Don Don after the big Chad Baker-Mazara announcement.
Yes. So yeah, we will check on Don Don. We'll do a welfare check. I hope he's okay. Let's see. Josh chimes in. He says, Chad Baker-Mazara is an absolute clown. Auburn will be better off, and I'm an Alabama fan. Dude is trash. Okay. Not a big fan of CBM there. Let's see. The Dutchman, he texts in. He says, has anybody checked on Don Don? I think a wellness check is necessary after the cheddar bacon lasagna news. Just saying. That's such a great nickname. Okay, somebody else. Somebody chiming in. They disagreed with my take earlier. They say, if Alabama has the chance to get Chad Baker-Mazara, they absolutely should do that.
Okay.
So there you have one Alabama fan that is in favor of that. Let's see. Someone asking, can Chad Baker-Mazara transfer within the SEC? Yes, he can. And he also adds, I heard Ohio State as an early team to watch maybe for Chad Baker-Mazara.
I'm sorry, say that again. Which team?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Okay.
Oh.
Didn't see that one coming.
No. No. Let's see. Somebody else texting in. Chad Baker-Mazara would not be Auburn's top scorer if he came back next year. Check their roster and portal transfers. 3 people counting Pettiford averaged more. At least we won't have to worry about losing the IBOB or tournament game because of him. Favorite player on the 2025 team. Sucks to lose him, though. Yeah, and I mean, Auburn is, they have some pieces that they're bringing in, but I mean, he was your second leading scorer last year. That is the reality of the situation, besides Janai Broom. So he certainly would have been a big piece if he had come back, but based on his Spanish farewell to the Auburn family, it doesn't look like a reunion is going to happen. Let's see. Someone asks, would Pat McAfee not just continue the headgear shtick once Lee Corso leaves?
In my opinion, I think it needs to be retired. I think that's
his thing.
Out of respect for
Yeah.
Coach Corso.
All right, so let me ask you this little trivia question since you just brought that up. So there have been 430 headgear selections. So his next one will be 431.
Okay.
From a winning percentage standpoint, what do you think his winning percentage is of picking the right headgear?
It's a good question.
I'm going to say, to get specific, I'll go 0.621.
So 62%.
62%, sure.
Okay.
See, I was thinking like 65%.
You say 65%? Molly's really good at this game. 66.5.
Ooh, there you go, Molly.
I've been on a roll lately.
Also, there you go, Lee Corso. That's pretty impressive over decades to
We
have
need to take her to California and let her be on The Price is Right or something.
I did do really well the
Take her
last
to
time
a
we did
casino.
Price is Right.
Can you count cards?
No.
We'll teach you.
He has 286 wins, 144 losses. So that's 0.665 win-loss percentage.
I'd be curious, and I don't know if you have this information in front of you or not, which school he's picked the most with the headgear.
Oh, you
win.
silly man. silly man. Like, you would not think that I would have that information.
I figured
Of
you
course he
did.
does.
I figured you did.
He has picked Ohio State 45 times.
Okay, I
Not
figured it'd be
surprising.
Ohio State.
Yeah.
He's picked Alabama 38 times.
Also not surprising.
He's been wrong on Alabama a lot of times.
LSU 25. Florida 22, Oregon 21.
Okay.
He had one perfect season,
Really?
Wow. What year?
1999.
Whew.
That's really cool.
It's a good year.
He went 11-0.
Well, if Y2K was a thing, that would have been a heck of a way to go out for Lee Corso.
69 different winners he has picked.
Nice. All right, let's see. Getting back to your text, Mike from Shreveport, he says on the Nico situation, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your parents. Big Nick's mouth is hurting his son. I've never heard that before. You can pick your nose, but you can't pick your family.
Well, no, and the old saying is like, you can pick your friends,
But you can't pick
and
your
you can
family.
pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one before.
Really?
You've never,
I've never heard that
I've
before.
I
heard
mean, he
that.
got picked on the playground all the time,
I
Molly. Why
know.
wouldn't he not hear that?
Got picked last. Let's see. Randall, he chimes in. He says, at some point, with his story being different from the Tennessee perspective, talking about Nico, he says, I see Nico and his family filing a defamation lawsuit. Do you think that's a possible avenue that we go down here?
What has Tennessee said that would defame him? So the
Nothing
answer to
publicly that I'm aware of.
So the answer to that would be no. Now, if they could come back and let's say that Nico doesn't end up coming out of the portal, then they might say that there's collusion involved. You know, we've heard that word a lot in the NFL and Major League Baseball when free agents hit the market. You know, it's like the owners get together and say, hey, don't sign Molly Robinson because, you know, she treated us bad. And the other owners say, okay, we got your back. But listen, we all know this. The 134 schools now, right?
Yes.
At the Division I FBS level, there's going to be somebody.
There is. And I think there's a reason, such as this, why when Josh Heupel came out and said what he did at the spring game, it was very coach speak. We appreciate everything Nico did for the program. We're heading in a different direction because you're not going to put a guy like that on blast and put yourself at risk. And I don't think that Heupel would do that in general. Let's see. Someone chimes in with a nickname for Nico. They say, how about Nico, I am up and to leave ya. It's a good one. Haven't heard that one yet. Also have to point out the last text this person sent in before that says that the Yankees won't be in first or second in the AL East this year, and they're in first place right now. So I just want to throw that out there. Let's see. Gavin chimes in. He says, so long, Nitro. Wish you could have stayed out of trouble. Was that the guy? Is that the one that got in trouble recently for Georgia?
I guess so. I don't know.
I couldn't remember if that was him or not, but I guess according to Gavin, it was. Okay. Yep. There we go. Somebody says, yeah, he was on suspension. He was the player that got arrested a couple weeks ago for speeding. Okay. Well, then the jokes just made themselves with the name Nitro. Let's see. Brandon chimes in. What did college football fans and you media members do from May to August before the days of the transfer portal?
I can tell you.
What did we do, Pat?
I'll tell you exactly what we did. We spent a lot of time talking about everything else, but really sports. Anything and everything.
Let's see. Tim text in. He says, bye-bye, Trader Baker-Mazara.
Trader?
Wow.
Trader Baker-Mazara.
Don't you think that was a two-way street? Don't you think that maybe Bruce Pearl was maybe ready to? And speaking of that, literally just happened moments ago, a little bit more news from the Auburn basketball team. Darren Scott, he has entered the transfer portal. He had redshirted this year, and Bruce Pearl had hoped that he could keep him on the roster as a depth piece in the front court this year, but he has entered the transfer portal.
Well, there you have it. Well, appreciate everyone chiming in. 205-834-9450. That'll get you on the courtesy GMC text line. We'll get back to your text a little bit later in the broadcast, but always appreciate you sending them in. You send them, and we will read them.
1-800-239-WJOX. We'll get to your phone calls next. 11:45. Rob Pate. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. 11:34, Jocks 94.5, 1-800-239-WJOX. Chad Baker-Mazara in the transfer portal for Auburn University basketball. Really nothing brewing right now. We had just talked to Rodney Orr about 30 minutes ago from Tider Insider. Nothing really percolating on the Alabama front from the basketball and the football standpoint, but that can change at any moment. Just like water. Water can find its way into your home and into your crawl space, bringing dangerous mold, mildew, and wood rot. But APS can protect your home's foundation, provide valuable storage space as well. The APS crawl space encapsulation system can stop the water, keep the pests out, while lowering your energy costs today. The engineers at APS will design a custom solution for your home. Crawl space problems don't get better over time. They get better when you call 205-951-9717. Start protecting your home today with APS, established back in 1977 to solve the most challenging issues around your home. 205-951-9717 or visit their website at alabamaprofessional.com. Chris has been holding for a while, so let's let Chris an opportunity to talk with us this morning. Hey, Chris, I hope you're well.
It's all good. You know, at the Stallions game, pretty sure y'all saw me being a fat man out there representing the shirtless section.
I did see that. We're doing great, Chris. I appreciate you supporting the Stallions. Yeah, matter of fact, I had an event that night, and by the time I got home, it was midway through the third quarter, and I turned on my television, and there you were, there with the rest of the horsemen. So it was a good time, it looked like.
You would hope Damian would at least talk to me, but no, he's still salty about it.
Wait, hold on a second. Damian did not talk with you. Y'all are part of the horsemen.
Not at all.
Why? What's the rub, Conrad? I didn't get the memo on this.
I don't get it either.
What's the rub?
I need to know it myself. I need to know what the beef is. I just need to know myself.
Now where was, like, I saw you on the front row. Where was Damian in the section?
He was down on the other side.
Oh, okay.
So how many people do you think were in the shirtless fan section, whatever? How many people you think y'all had on Friday?
How many people had their shirts off?
Yeah.
I want to say at least 15.
15?
Oh, so 30 nipples. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but enough about the Stallions, I guess. Let's see. When it comes to the Nico scenario, I'm about to bring a new nuanced take to this, and I'm disappointed in Conrad because I hope he would shed his take to it, but he kind of went along with the mob mentality on it, because I'm not on Nico's side itself, because you left your brother taking high and dry. But I realize the nuance and the sense behind it is to just throw darts at Nico, but also we should throw some darts. We shouldn't be so quick to put kudos to Tennessee, because they wanted this. They wanted no boundaries, right? They wanted to sue. They wanted to sue for they can go wild west on it before they can even let the guy see what the guy could even do in his freshman year.
Yeah, they spent about $1 million plus on getting Nico eligible.
So that being said in mind, we should you put out a tweet saying kudos to them. I think I'm gonna realize I'll be slow with those kudos, because the problem with my thing is this: the problem with Tennessee is they're more concerned about competing with the market before actually looking doing a self-evaluation towards the prestige of their program. Let me explain what I mean by that. What is your resume that makes kids want to come to you? Not what you can, not the keys to the Lambo you can dangle in front of their face. What have you done to really say you establish you're a premier team up there with the likes of Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, all of them, because they can compete in the market and they have the resume to show for it. What have they the prime example do they have possibly putting out NFL prime talent? No, not without a transfer attached to it. Are they constantly like not a Heisman candidate? No, they're not in that sense. Do they at the very least, I don't know, constantly have sustained success each and every day of the season? No, because they just now came on. So it's like a used car salesman. Are you selling me on your program? I mean, your program and and I guess with your program altogether, your prestige of your university based on on tradition and what you've been, because what you've been hasn't been up to snuff compared to everyone else has. Are you compelling what you can do for me? That's what we need. Definitely address about the whole Frankenstein's monster that is Nico and I can't say his last name.
Just call him Nico.
Situation. Is the Nico situation, because you have a sense of, because everybody's upset at Nico because they feel that like he's the prime example of the sanctity of the game being tainted, which is fair, and at the same time though it also isn't fair because you're making him out as a martyr. Because if we're gonna point fingers at him, we should also point him back and take our time and give the same energy towards them, because I don't feel we haven't given Tennessee any kind of smoke for real, because they started this. So what do you guys think?
Well, thank you, Chris. I always appreciate the phone call and your patience holding on to give us your take on the situation. The reason why I tweeted out kudos to the University of Tennessee, I was thinking of the bigger picture. I wasn't thinking about the Tennessee roster or Tennessee trying to win the SEC or get back to the college football playoff. I was thinking about the repercussions that the game of college football was going to have to endure, because if Tennessee gave in and gave him $4+ million to an average SEC quarterback, then what is that going to do to reset the market for the rest of not only the SEC, but all of college football?
Yeah, it felt like Heupel was taking a stand for college football, not just Tennessee. Now, part of it was Tennessee and the Block T, but I think that's where the kudos came from, and I agree with your sentiment in that regard. I will say, to Chris's point, I said this earlier in the week as well, I don't think that 100% of this blame falls on Nico. I think he is in a tough situation, and I hate that it appears, at least to us, that the information or the advice that he's being fed from his father, whose job should be to look out for his son's best interest, that doesn't seem to be the case, at least from my perspective and with the information that we have been privy to. And I feel bad for that. But I do also understand the argument of, hey, if you're Tennessee, why did you get Nico out of high school? Because you offered him more money than any other school. So are you really that surprised that you're in this situation 2 years later where it's a money grab? Because that's what it always was for Nico. It was never, you can't convince me that he just fell in love with the city of Knoxville or fell in love with putting on the orange and white every Saturday. He went there because it was a business decision and he thought he could have success and make a lot of money. And, I don't know if they're all that surprised that this is the situation they ended in, but like Pat, I will give them kudos for how they handled it, because I think the way they handled it is significantly better than what we'd be talking about if they had bent the knee and Nico is making $4 million right now in Knoxville.
Since 2015, all the quarterbacks that Josh Heupel has had under his tutelage, up until Nico, every single one of them had better numbers than Nico, period.
In the last three, if I'm not mistaken, well, one of them was Dylan Gabriel, who's going to be in the NFL now.
Mackenzie Milton was before Dylan Gabriel.
Mackenzie Milton, but Joe Milton.
Drew Lock at Missouri. Let's not forget about it. He was the OC at the University of Missouri when Drew Lock was there for 2 years.
And Mackenzie Milton had some injury problems in his career, unfortunately. But you look at Drew Lock, Dylan Gabriel's about to get drafted. Hendon Hooker is the backup for one of the best teams in the NFL. Joe Milton just got traded for by the Cowboys. Got a pretty good track record of putting guys in the NFL and giving them an opportunity to play at the next level.
No question about it. Joining us in just a couple of minutes, Rob Pate, the former outstanding DB for Auburn University. He's going to join us next here on Three Man Front. 1146 Jocks 94.5. Welcome back to the program on this beautiful Thursday. Pat, Conrad, Molly, Landry will be back with us on Monday. Each and every Thursday, we're blessed to be able to catch up with Rob Pate, outstanding defensive back for the Auburn Tigers, now the Entrepreneur of the Year and a doctor. Man, he's got so many titles now. I'm just reading the memo here, Rob. Everything that I'm supposed to say about you.
Well, chief of that is new grandfather. So
that's right. That's on top.
Daughter,
that's on top of the list. Rob, before we start talking about Auburn and transfer portal and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to spend some time because Bill Oliver passed away here recently, and I know that's an individual that meant a lot to you and someone that I got to know as his career was wrapping up, and just wanted to give you a little bit of time to talk about Bill Oliver and how much he meant to you.
Well, he meant so much to me, Pat, and so much to so many guys that played for him, both at Alabama and Auburn and everywhere that Coach Oliver ever coached. I think that the thing I can say the most about him is that he's the smartest defensive coach. He's the smartest football coach that I ever had, bar none, not even close. I mean, there's nobody within the vicinity of Bill Oliver. When he left after my sophomore year, I was never the same type of player because I wasn't as prepared, and I wasn't put in position to have success like Bill Oliver would have a player and a team and a defense working in unison and working together. He is a builder of men, and they just don't make them like that anymore. Luckily, I knew that he wasn't doing well. Actually, his son had let me know that that this was upcoming, and so I wasn't caught off guard by it, but it's still hard nonetheless. And I miss him and miss Sue, and he became my patient later in life, and so I love him like a father, and I would not have been at Auburn if not for Bill Oliver. He believed in me. He believed in my skill set. He gave me the freedom to flourish. He made me a freshman All-SEC player. He made me a coach's second team All-SEC safety as a sophomore. And then as he departed, a piece of me left with him. And, and so I think that he's the greatest of all time. We throw that around loosely, but I cannot think of another defensive coach that more players would go to bat for, and that more players would tell you that if it wasn't for that guy, I would have had half the success. So I love him, and I wish his family well, and look forward to celebrating his life.
Yeah, Rob, I think we could all only hope to be as fortunate to have a coach, a teacher, somebody like that influences you in your life and not only drives you to be better, but is kind of the reason that you ultimately are the person that you are, that you say that you are. And I know he had, such a big impact, like you said, on so many people's lives. I did want to ask you, I wanted to get your thoughts. I don't know if you saw the news. It broke as we came on the air this morning on the basketball front, but Chad Baker-Mazara deciding to enter the transfer portal. We knew he had kind of teased that he might come back for another year at Auburn, but I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on Chad Baker-Mazara and the possibility of him not being an Auburn Tiger and playing somewhere else next year.
Well, I mean, at first, I did not see that. I've been in a dark room saying, is this better one or is this better two? So I missed that. But
that's understandable.
Yeah, but, I hate to hear it as an Auburn fan because I think he was so valuable to what Auburn was trying to do. And I think he set the tone defensively and just with his erratic style of play. Some of me wonders, is that not something where they kind of, I'm not saying wanted him to go, but maybe they didn't fight to keep him or match whatever he thought he was worth. But it is a little bit surprising because you already lose the other player that transferred that played the same position, so you just don't have the depth there. Chad Baker-Mazara, I think he was the oldest player in college basketball, so
pretty close.
You lose the maturity aspect. But I would say that you probably have maybe 20% of Auburn fans that would say, I'm glad to see him go because of the antics. But I think the vast majority of people that just, love to watch these guys play and want to see them have success wishes that he would come back. So, yeah, I think that's a big loss for Auburn.
In regards to football, as things got wrapped up on a Saturday, just a general feeling, not that a lot can be read off of these spring get-togethers now instead of the spring games, but as we head into the summer months, what's just your overall impression on this Auburn football team where it currently stands?
I think that they're doing a much better job of building the roster in a way that can be competitive in this league. Obviously the transfer portal has helped. But I think high school recruiting is where Coach Freeze is really making his money. And so he's getting Auburn on par with the best out there. All of it's for naught if you don't have savvy quarterback play and if you can't hold on to the football. And so those were two areas we struggled in immensely. And I feel like that they think they're stepping in the right direction. I mean, they've got one of the most talented freshmen on board who got a lot of reps because of Jackson Arnold being held out some in spring. And then you've got a quarterback with SEC experience, and you've got a quarterback transferring in from Stanford with a lot of experience. So hopefully out of those three guys, we're able to find the one, which, obviously Jackson Arnold's the huge front runner, but you just hope that you can have steady play there because that's the area that was the Achilles heel. But overall, I think that this program, this coaching staff, they feel good where they sit, and I think that there's really no more excuses at this point to not go out and be a winner. And so I think that this is the year that they're going to have to move in the right direction and start notching some victories and beat some people that we're not accustomed to beating routinely.
So, Rob, with you being a former defensive back, I think that's one of the rooms that we've really seen make a lot of strides, really, for Auburn. They had some young guys last year that got some valuable reps. They have some more young guys like Fagans and Woodby that I know are expected to contribute pretty early on there for Auburn. So just some of your thoughts on some of these young defensive backs you've seen for Auburn, and really just the job that DJ Durkin did last year of getting this defense to a point where they're kind of viewed as maybe the strength of this Auburn team heading into the season.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about DJ Durkin and the energy that he injected into what they do defensively. I mean, if you just go watch a practice and you observe him, man, he is a competitor. He has owned those guys, and he's going to demand perfection each play. And so he juices those guys up, and he puts them in position to do well and succeed. But specifically to the defensive backfield, I think Auburn's got two of the best corners that you can have. I mean, corner is a crapshoot sometimes because you're going to lose. You have to have a short memory over there. You're going to have to defend against some of the best athletes in the world playing wide receiver in this conference. So Auburn's, though, they've got guys that can compete there and win a lot of those battles. So they feel good about what they have at corner. You talk about recruiting in high school ranks. You have guys like Fagans and the young guy from Enterprise, Winters, that has come in, and these guys are going to contribute soon. I mean, I really think that Auburn, you saw some guys exit after spring that had a little bit more experience, that had been in the program longer, but I think that talent-wise, they're just getting bypassed at this point, and I think that's a good thing for Auburn to be able to put that level of talent on the field. So I think they're going to be really savvy back there. I think they've got playmakers, and they feel really good about what they've got on the defensive, on the back end. I think it's that middle section, that linebacking core, that we don't have the significant depth. I think we've got some solid players, but just not a ton of them. And I think if we have any area to go out in this spring portal window, it's to try to solidify what's happening at the linebacker position.
All right, so what kind of VIPs do we have in Sweet Frogs this week? What's going on? Because it seems like every time I turn around, there's some very important person making a pit stop there at Sweet Frog.
Hey man, we've been blessed to have a lot of the athletes that have found out that where we're at. So we do see a lot of players of all the different sports, but. Hey, we've had a lot of sorority functions. So I think yesterday we had Alpha Chi Omega came and did a benefit for them.
Nice.
And, I'm sure we've got somebody else on there, but yeah, we need to get maybe a
sounds like a remote opportunity.
Spot.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
We might need to.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we might need to come down and I mean, we'd have to There's certain limitations of things Landrum can do and not do around Auburn's campus. So we'll just have to get back with you on that.
Oh, I got you. Well, I understood.
Well, I mean, there's just some standing parking tickets and some other things like,
Maybe a restraining order here and there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if we can get that cleared up.
I think we can talk to the mayor and maybe give him a pass for a day.
Yeah, maybe look the other way.
Maybe so.
Well, Rob, you and your family have a blessed Easter weekend. Always appreciate you spending some time with us and some great poignant comments about Brother Bill Oliver. So we really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, guys. War Eagle, and God bless you guys.
Thank you very much. That is Rob Pate, one of the best that you will ever find. Just a great guy and a wonderful DB for the Auburn Tigers. 11:56 here on Jocks. Coming up in the noon hour, we're wide open. We want to hear from you at 1-800-239-WJOX, the courtesy GMC text line. That is open, 205-834-9450. We'll kind of reset things in regards to the transfer portal. Big news about Chad Baker-Mazara. He is in the portal for Auburn basketball. We'll give you the very latest from Nico. Is he heading to the West Coast? UCLA possibility. We'll get into all that. Take your text and your phone calls. All that. Hour number 3 coming straight ahead. This is Jocks 94.5. It is 12 noon here on Jocks 94.5. Welcome back in. This is Three Man Front. Pat, Molly, Conrad with you. Landry will be back with us on Monday. Is down covering the beach volleyball championships, so he'll be back with us on Monday. Headlines at this lunchtime hour. Chad Baker-Mazara went to social media this morning. He wanted to thank God and for blessing me with the opportunity to do what he loves to do. He also thanked his teammates, coaching staff there at Auburn. It's been a great last 2 years. He said he'll be entering the transfer portal, and he said, gracias, Auburn. He's entering the transfer portal with 1 year of eligibility left. The 6'7" senior averaged 12.3 points, 3 rebounds, 2.7 assists per game this season. Scored 18 points against Florida in the Final Four. This will be, Conrad, his 5th stop in his college career. He began at Duquesne, or Duquesne, as you like to say.
Of course, Duquesne.
Yep. Then he transferred to San Diego State, or San Diego State.
Mm-hmm. As Ron Burgundy says, yes.
Yes. After being dismissed from the Aztecs for academic reasons, he spent 1 season at Northwest Florida State College before transferring to Auburn 2 years ago.
He likes to travel, see the world, I guess. Or the
also,
country.
Auburn forward Darren Scott, he will enter the transfer portal, according to Auburn Undercover. He redshirted this past season, and Bruce Pearl hoped that he would stick around and add some depth to the front court next year. So another Auburn basketball player in the transfer portal.
So is it crazy to say that between Alabama and Auburn, I guess the most recognizable player that will return for either one of those two teams is Aiden Holloway?
Yes.
That's just kind of wild that's where we are, that Aiden Holloway, the Alabama version of Aiden Holloway, will be the biggest household name, because there's just so many. I mean, both Alabama and Auburn have been hit hard by the portal and the NBA draft, but I mean, that's price of success, right? When
Absolutely.
you get to this point, this is what's going to happen.
You tip the cap to what Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates has been able to do at Alabama. Almost like back in the day when John Calipari would have one and done.
Yep.
All the time. Bruce Feldman reported yesterday at The Athletic that Nico, the former Tennessee quarterback, he is going to transfer to UCLA. Radio host Colin Cowherd even said his departure from the Vols was because of Heupel's offense, not over money. So we'll wait to see when he officially comes out of the portal, if that is indeed the case. Lee Corso, after 38 years, he is retiring from College Game Day. He will have one more broadcast that will take place during week 1 of the 2025 season, August the 30th. A lot of speculation, Molly, where that could be. And there's a couple of interesting options on the table for Lee Corso.
Yeah, so we talked about, Alabama, Florida State, where, Florida State is his alma mater. We also talked about Texas and Ohio State, where I believe Ohio State is where the first College Game Day was. Also, infamously, his first headgear pick was Brutus the Buckeye. So there's been some speculation as to where ESPN might send him. I think it'll be Florida State because it's its alma mater, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we see him at Ohio State.
Be fascinating to watch as that story develops. Yesterday in the wonderful city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, the Blue Jays knocked off the Braves over on Jocks 2-100.5. The final there was 3-1. Braves hitters had 19 strikeouts in that baseball game. That tied a franchise record in a 9-inning game. They were one shy, Conrad, of the Major League Baseball record for the most strikeouts by a team in a 9-inning game.
That's that's not good. I mean, when you're not getting on the board until the 9th inning and it's a solo shot just to, hey, we didn't get shut out, that's unfortunate. And especially with, Austin Riley had started to swing a hot bat. Olsen homered the other night. You thought maybe things were going to start to get rolling, and unfortunately not.
Atlanta has the 3rd most strikeouts in Major League Baseball this year. They have struck out 177 times in just 18 games. They finished 7th in that category in 2024. They had the 6th fewest strikeouts in 2023.
Trending in the wrong direction.
Braves went 0 for 9 with 7 strikeouts with runners in scoring position. And on the season, Atlanta only has 26 hits with 45 strikeouts and 141 at-bats with runners in scoring position. That is a 184 batting average with runners in scoring position. And that's a shame because Spencer Strider, 5 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, 2 earned runs. He took the loss, but he became the fastest to record 500 career strikeouts in Major League Baseball history. He did it in 335 innings.
That's pretty remarkable.
Wow, yeah.
It's but yeah, I mean, it's been brutal, and I know, again, this is a guy that he's just had such a weird start to his career because he's had moments where he looks spectacular, and then moments like the start of this season, and I believe it was the start of last season where he was cold as well. But you have Michael Harris Jr., who's your leadoff batter. He has gone 0 for 15 in your last 4 games, 6 strikeouts. Your leadoff batter, his on-base percentage this year is 208? 208. That's not his batting average.
It's his on-base percentage.
That is his on-base percentage.
Which walks count as
Correct.
a hit in that category.
Correct. And he has 1 walk in those last 15 plate appearances as well. So, I mean, it's just nothing.
Well, here's the good news for the Braves. They're 3-2 at home.
Yes.
But they're 2-11 on the road.
Correct.
They've lost all 4 road series, but now they get to come home and beat up on the Twins and hopefully not beat up on my Cardinals.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's their homestand.
Hopefully for you. But we were talking, I think, off the air yesterday about I know the Twins, they had a walk-off win last night and extra innings. It was a great moment for them, but this is a prime opportunity if you're Atlanta to feast on a below-average team, which you are right now as well.
You just try to get a little momentum.
This is what you need to do.
And you felt like Atlanta was doing that by doing what they did against Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
But then all of a sudden you go north of the border and the ugly RISP comes in to play. That is runners in scoring position.
Yeah, I was hoping they were going to do me a solid this week, but it's all right. Your Cardinals have now let me down this year, as have Landrum's Braves. So I can't get any help in the AL East this year. It's a shame.
It was cold and rainy in Boston.
It's okay. It was cold and snowy in Detroit, and that's why we didn't fare very well in Detroit.
1-800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450. That is the courtesy GMC text line. We've had a lot of people text wanting to know how Don was because of this Chad Baker-Mazara information. So is that him? Is this really Don?
Hey, guys.
Yep, that's really Don.
He's alive.
That's right.
He is alive.
I'm glad to hear you're okay, Don.
Absolutely, Pat. I mean, I think this was a done deal when the season ended. I don't think Bruce wanted him back. And actually, Conrad brought it up a minute ago. There ain't nobody left on Alabama or Auburn. I think, Conrad, I think you're right. Aiden Holloway it might be the only one.
Yeah, in terms of, the people that the average fan would recognize, yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. It's pretty wild. So we're all Aiden Holloway fans now, right, Don?
Yeah, I mean, but, actually, Pat, the guy they call Turtle Hudson, is he still on the roster?
I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that. I have not seen him in the portal, but I could be wrong.
I was about to say, because I think it's just the 2 guys today and Ja'Kai Howard, right?
Right.
Those are the only ones so far.
Yeah, well, there's also a chance, too, guys, that if that Division II ruling goes into effect, that Chaney Johnson could come back. But, but I think Pettiford's gone. I think Pettiford's kind of like Byline, Conrad. I think he might be gone because I think somebody said he got a first-round grade the other day.
Yeah, I know he left his eligibility open. That was what surprised me with Phylon was he did not opt for the eligibility. He's going in the draft. He's gone. And so I think Pettiford still has the door open a little bit, and we know he said he would come back to Auburn if he comes back. But, I mean, I think that he's gone.
So where does he currently in the mock drafts? Where is he and Phylon and Yaxel Lindeborg? Where are those 3?
From what I've seen, like early second round, late first round for Yax.
So is Phylon and Pettiford higher than Yax?
No.
Okay.
No. And I've seen Pettiford higher than Phylon.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, hey Pat, when you had Rob Pate on a minute ago, I got a question for you because I was asking Cole about this today. Because I think Cole and Rob Pate played in '98 when Bill Oliver had to take over for Terry Bowden, right?
Correct.
Okay. I remember that. Well, I think it was on a Friday when you and Paul reported Terry Bowden leaving on a Friday afternoon. Why that y'all were the first ones to report it?
We were the first in the nation to report it. We actually, the station that we were working on, Rush Limbaugh was our lead-in show before Paul and I came on. And we came across information, and we actually interrupted Rush Limbaugh, which, as you know, Don, back in those days, that's just something that you just did not do. And
that's true.
we told our management that, hey, this is huge. Like we got a story here, because of course we worked at a news talk station, and absolutely we came on the air. Paul came on and broke the news to the world that Terry Bowden was exiting the Auburn football program. So yeah.
Now, question for you, and I know didn't Bill Oliver really want the Auburn job, and David Housel would not give it to him, right?
That is my understanding. There was a lot of things that was going on at that time down at Auburn. A lot of influencers, as you know. Don used to be very.
Oh yeah, Bobby Louder.
So
all you guys say is Bobby Louder.
So yeah, but I was very fortunate because I got an opportunity to get to know Brother Bill, and just a first class individual, and it was just so fun to sit around and talk football. And I'll never forget. It was the national championship game with Alabama playing Clemson out on the West Coast. And I actually did an interview with Brother Bill that morning of the game. And he told me off the air, and he went like 20 minutes of, this is why Clemson is going to beat Alabama tonight. And like he listed to a T all the things that Clemson was going to do to disrupt Tua Tagovailoa. It was just, and we all remember what happened in that game. And I'll never forget what he was telling me prior to the game on what was going to happen. And dadgummit, it absolutely followed the script that he laid out to me, and Clemson won the national championship against Bama.
Well, I was very fortunate to get to meet Brother Bill. Of all places, one of your guys, advertisers, I got to meet him at Mark's Outdoors in the fishing department, because one of my best friends, John Norris, is the manager of the fishing department. Y'all met him before at Social Taco.
Yeah.
But yeah, he answered every question I wanted to answer. Pat, one of the most gracious guys you'd ever meet in your life.
There's no doubt about it. And it was just so cool because he would tell the stories about how, like, after the 1992, and for those that don't remember, Bill Oliver was the defensive coordinator for the Alabama Crimson Tide when they upset Miami to win the national championship, as Gene Stallings was the head coach. And Brother Bill would always tell the story about how, like, right after that game, the next year, he would be asked to go speak during the summer months to quarterback clubs. And he literally would take an old VHS tape of the game, and he literally would do an old blackboard of, okay, this is what we were set up in, and these were the looks that we wanted to give Gino Torretta. It was just really fascinating just how they attacked Gino Torretta and how they made the Heisman Trophy winner just look absolutely just like not even a middle school quarterback, how bad they made him look that night.
How you doing? I got a drop off.
What is going on?
Sorry about that, guys. I'm doing DoorDash right now.
Are you delivering to Chad Baker-Mazara?
No, buddy, I'm making a delivery out in Irondale. Sorry about that.
All right, well, listen, we're going to let you get back to it, Don, and earn a living. And,
hang on, I got one more, Pat, buddy, I got one more thing.
Okay.
Hey, I need to find a way that that really nice guy that calls up about Bernard Longer and Tom Lehman,
Dr. Mel. Dr. Mel.
Yeah, I want to do a special invite to him to come meet all of us at Social Taco if he's listening.
Okay. Well, if Dr. Mel is listening, we always welcome Dr. Mel and everybody else to come see us on Tuesday.
And I think Chris brought that up earlier, didn't he? Hey, the more the merrier, right, guys?
Absolutely. Just you got to keep your shirts on.
By the way,
if you come to Social Taco, you got to keep your shirts on.
Yes, Don.
I got to ask Molly a question.
Okay, go for it.
Hey, Molly, would you take Chad Baker-Mazara at Nebraska since she's looking at Big Ten schools?
If he wanted to come to the Big Ten, why not?
Well,
I don't think he'll be in the Big Ten, though.
Yeah, would you? He's a good ball player. Could you put up with that mess, though?
I think so.
Would you buy a Chad Baker-Mazara Nebraska jersey?
I don't know.
You wouldn't go that far.
I probably wouldn't go that far, no.
Yeah, I was about to say. All right, guys, listen, thank y'all. But everybody out there, I'm fine. I'm kind of glad he's gone. But thank you to the Alabama people that were checking on me.
Yeah, they were concerned. All right, thanks, Don.
I know, buddy, but I appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
See ya. I was just trying to give him an opportunity to do his job.
I know. Prioritizing the show over his job. I appreciate that. Maybe
That's the way it should be.
Maybe the customer doesn't, but I appreciate it. But no, there you go. So Don in the camp of good riddance. Glad that.
Thanks for the 2 years.
Cheddar bacon lasagna is gone.
Yeah, we're done. Move on from that.
We got Alabama fans that want him more than Don does.
But you said you don't want him.
No, I do not. He can go to Nebraska.
I don't think he'll go to Nebraska.
Well, I mean, if he was looking for a red and white, color scheme.
That's true.
Washington State, maybe they'd take him.
So for those that did not hear earlier, and I'm not poking fun, I'm just from your perspective, why would he not be a good fit at Alabama?
I just don't know if that's the kind of personality. Plus, I mean, you have to remember some of the bad blood that you had with the team. And I know Chris Youngblood's gone, and that was mainly kind of the two that went back and forth at it in the IBobs this year. I just feel like that's not, for me as a head coach, I do not want to bring in a guy in the locker room that you already know is going to be a distraction at times, or he is going to let his emotions get the better of him, and it's going to detract from what your other players are doing, how your roster is constructed. Oh man, what are we going to do if he gets ejected and gets a technical foul and now we have to fill that spot? I don't think that, for me personally, if I'm Nate Oates, that's just not the direction that I'm trying to go in. I think he's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but the talent has to outweigh the baggage, and I think for a lot of teams his talent will outweigh the baggage, but for me personally, that is not a well that I would dip into.
Very well. 1-800-239-WJOX, the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. And speaking of Courtesy GMC, it is a perfect time to upgrade a vehicle before the summer months, and a vehicle that you could truly rely on. The selection of top-rated and dependable vehicles there at Courtesy GMC in Trussville gives you plenty of options. From the Yukon, Sierra, Canyon, Acadia, and Terrain, there's a sport utility, truck, and a crossover for whatever your life calls for. Don't drive anywhere else. Just drive to Trussville and save big on your next vehicle purchase. Visit Courtesy GMC in Trussville today. Experience the unbeatable reliability and the comfort of any Courtesy vehicle, and they've got plenty to offer. Located there in Trussville off of I-459 exit 32 next to Lowe's. Check out their inventory and more deals at courtesybirmingham.com. More of your calls and texts. This is Three Man Front, Jocks 94.5. Been spending a lot of time talking about the transfer portal. Additions to Alabama and Auburn's roster. Well, UAB announced, Andy Kennedy did just a few minutes ago, the signing of JUCO guard Dawan Anderson on Thursday. The Dayton, Ohio native averaged 18 points, almost 5 rebounds per game, while shooting 42% from the field at Triton College. While leading the Trojans to a 29-6 record, he scored 20-plus points 11 times this season, had a career-high 31 points. So he is on his way to the South Side. So they're getting a shooting guard there for Andy Kennedy and the Blazers.
Yeah, that's a very nice pickup there for AK, continuing the trend of sharpshooters here in Birmingham. A little bit of news for UAB fans keeping track of Yaxel Lindeborg, because if you remember, it was announced a couple weeks ago that he was going to transfer to Michigan, but he was continuing to keep his options open with the NBA draft. And if you've been listening to this show frequently, we've been talking about how he's been projected as a late first-round pick in a lot of places. So Jeff Goodman from the Field of 68, he reported earlier this morning that his sources are telling him Yaxel Lindeborg is leaning towards sticking in the NBA draft and not going to Michigan. So it looks like Yax is going to follow through. And, I mean, hey, if you're projected as a first-round pick, some places have had him going to the Boston Celtics even, which, I mean, talk about a pretty good landing spot. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the case. So a little bit of an update there on Yax and what his future may hold.
And for those that are dipping their toe potentially in the NBA draft, they have until the end of May. So it's a little bit of time.
Got some time.
Yeah, before they make that ultimate decision. Also, a little Braves news. They're off today. They start a weekend series with the Minnesota Twins that you can hear right here on Jocks 94.5. They have recalled outfielder Alex Verdugo. I knew that would get it. I knew that was going to get a laugh out of you.
That's bad. I'm sorry, Braves fans. I'm really sorry.
They have optioned Brian De La Cruz to AAA Gwinnett. So I knew Molly. I knew when I brought him up. I knew he was going to.
And it's just so funny because going back before the season, we had even made a joke of, yeah, man, the Braves kind of need an outfielder. And I said, well, Alex Verdugo is still available. No one wants to touch him. And the next day, the Braves signed him to a minor league deal. But I mean, look, he's still 28 years old. Like, he's got a lot of baseball ahead of him if he can get it figured out. He was good on the Red Sox. He just had a really bad year last year with the Yankees.
Yeah, he
really
sure did.
bad.
Also, Pat McAfee's show, just a couple minutes ago, Aaron Rodgers came back to the show, and Conrad and I were monitoring it during a commercial break, and he just told him, I'm open to anything and attached to nothing. Retirement could still be a possibility, but no decision about 2025 so far.
I think this is interesting, too. So Ian Rappaport adds that leading into that comment you just read, he also said, I told every single one of the teams it isn't about the money. I said I'll play for $10 million or whatever. Because that was one of the reports, was that he has some pride. He's Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the best to ever do it. He wanted to be paid somewhere in the $30 million range. So if he's telling you, hey, I'm focused on the situation, I don't care about the dollar amount, I just want to go somewhere I can win, that's certainly interesting.
Sure is.
Makes Pittsburgh happy, I'm sure. Save some money.
Yeah.
Well,
potentially.
I'm just curious with the draft next Thursday. I mean, what is the legitimate timeline for him? Like, when do teams have to make a call one way or another?
Well, and I think for him, again, I don't know. Maybe he waits until after the draft, and if there's a situation he likes, he goes for it. Or maybe he's just, happy to see how it plays out, right? If Pittsburgh drafts a quarterback and they want to go in a different direction, maybe he looks at that as, okay, well, it's time for me to hang it up. It's just, again, it's very Aaron Rodgers, but it's like, okay, so you're going back on the show because everyone's expecting you to make an announcement about your future, and you announce that you have no announcement on your future. That's just the most Aaron Rodgers thing ever. I'm sorry.
It's just a kind of a vicious cycle. Just keeps going back and forth.
Yeah. Let's see. All right, here's another quote from Aaron Rodgers minutes ago. Says, quote, I'll set it all straight. From the jump, I'm in a different phase of my life now. I'm 41 years old. I'm in a serious relationship. I have personal commitments I've made and people in my inner circle battling difficult stuff. To make a commitment to one team is a big thing.
Who's his relationship with?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Who's he dating now?
Don't know.
Molly, you're supposed to be on top of this.
I'm on it. Her name is Brittany. Brittany with an I.
Is she an actress? Is she a musician?
Oh, is this the one that was the...
He said he didn't specify how he met his latest girlfriend or how long they've been together. But all he said was that her name is Brittany with an I at the end instead of a Y. This was on the McAfee show like a month ago.
I'm trying to remember if this is the... And this may have been like a couple years ago now, but because he dated someone that was like a ayahuasca guru or something. You know, like all that stuff that he's into. So I didn't know if this was that woman or somebody else. But I'm glad it's Brittany with an I. That really narrows it down.
It sure does.
Molly, are you looking up Brittany's with an I on Instagram as we speak?
I'm trying to find
good
her.
luck with that. That's going to take you a minute.
Only a few of them. Wouldn't have been funny if it was Britney Spears. That would have been something. That was the
Could
first
you
thought when I
imagine?
heard Britney. I was like,
Isn't
man,
she married
I don't
now
know.
to someone else?
I don't
new?
know.
That's a great question.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I'm not
I'm just
sure
glad
either.
I don't have to see the videos of her dancing around her house with kitchen knives anymore. That was concerning for a while.
When we come back on Three Man Front, we'll give you the very latest on Nico, and we'll also remind you who he potentially is going to be playing for this next year. That's next on Three Man Front. So Aaron Rodgers making headlines at this hour, doing an interview right now with Pat McAfee. Has he said anything else? Darkness retreat or any drugs or anything that he's taking?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm sure it'll happen.
Still early.
Yeah.
Well, I want to remind y'all that a week from today.
1 week from today.
1 week from today. I can't believe it's already here. But we will be at Trim Tab Brewing for the NFL Draft Party. So next Thursday, April 24th, it's the NFL Draft. Pat, myself.
First off, we're calling it the Jalen Milroe Draft Party. Is that what we're... She couldn't do it with a straight face.
I couldn't do it. That was So yeah, we'll be there. Come by and join us to see if, like you said,
so
Jalen
you're going to
Milroe
be
gets
there until
drafted.
Jalen Milroe is drafted, right?
Yeah.
Like
I'll be there the
you're
whole
not
time.
leaving until Jalen Milroe is drafted.
Yeah.
It might be Will Levis. You might be there a couple days there, Molly.
Well, for my sake, let's hope not. But yes, like I said, Thursday, April 24th, Pat and myself, we will be at Trim Tab Brewing Company downtown. Red Mountain Crawfish will also be there while we are there. And Tub the Band will be there from 7 to 10. So come by and join us next Thursday at Trim Tab Brewing.
So yesterday afternoon, Bruce Feldman from The Athletic reported that Nico is expected to transfer to UCLA. Now, all of us being great Southeastern Conference football fans, I know many of us will stay up late at night to catch a lot of the West Coast games. Back in the old days, it was Pac-12 after dark. Now UCLA is a member of the Big Ten Conference. Well, I just want to remind everybody that if Nico pulls the trigger, comes out of the portal, and goes and plays in Westwood, California, beautiful, beautiful part of the country. No, I'm not being a smart aleck. I mean, it's a beautiful campus. It's fantastic. Their head coach is Deshaun Foster, great running back for the Carolina Panthers. He's the head coach of the UCLA Bruins. What you are about to hear has not been edited. This is from start to finish what Deshaun Foster sounded like last year at Big Ten Media Days. I want to again state for the record, none of this was edited to make him look bad. This is actually what took place last year, Big Ten Media Days. Deshaun Foster, head coach, UCLA.
Coach Foster, welcome to the Big Ten. We'll begin with your opening statement.
How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here. Glad to be a part of this great conference. Finally putting two great emblems together, UCLA and the Big Ten. We're a school that's won, 123 championships, so this fits us being right in this conference. Football-wise, we're just excited. You know, I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. It's us and USC. We I'm just basically excited, really. That's it. Any questions?
So many questions.
The number one question is, why did your sports information director allow you
gonna say, who is your
walk out on the
SID?
stage unprepared?
Oh.
Well, it's just great. It's, I'm sure a lot of y'all don't know much about UCLA football. Neither do I. It's like, come on, man. You didn't have some talking points, some bullet points that someone sent you up there with?
We're in LA, USC, home of Shohei Ohtani.
That's what he should have said. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's clear, right? You're nervous. You've never been in that situation before.
Here's the other problem. I'm not trying to act like I'm a public speaking expert, but I've kind of done this for a minute or two. He had absolutely no notes in front of him.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Like zero.
Yeah, I wouldn't wing that if I'm not.
No, your first year.
No.
And you're walking out there at the Big Ten Media Days. You can at least have just a folded up little piece of paper of just a couple of talking points.
Yes,
that's it.
At least he had the 123 championships. That was good. That was like the one fact that was the one thing he remembered to bring up.
Yeah, we've never heard of UCLA basketball and John Wooden. You know, we don't know nothing about UCLA. So that was last year. And to be fair, I grabbed this morning. He was on set at the NFL Network. Imagine that. Why he would be at the NFL Network this morning, but he was. So just to be fair, and I know that was really bad audio for Deshaun Foster, but this was him this morning on the NFL Network. Listen very carefully because the conversation pivoted from the NFL to what's going on currently with the transfer portal and his own team.
It seems chaotic. Like here we're talking NFL. Right. Can you imagine paying a one-year deal? Like a one-year deal, and you get to renegotiate it every year. You get to do that now, like in literal real time with your roster. How is UCLA positioned to navigate that? And of course, there's a ton of news around that in the quarterback room right now.
It's just the nature of the game right now, you know. So you have to be open. If you want to play ball, this is what's going on, and we're excited that the players actually can make money now, and we're going to continue to, you know, raise money and get the top talent that's locally and in the United States. So I'm just excited that, you know, we have a collective that's able to raise money and get me the players that I want to get to be successful.
See? Solid. Great answer.
Much better.
Much better.
Fluid. Feels more at ease with his job. So that could be Nico's head coach. Now, his team last year went 5-7, but they did have that big win on November 2nd. If you remember that. What?
Nothing.
You don't remember that one?
No, I do.
Okay.
I figured that's where he was going with that.
87,453 people witnessed Nebraska losing at home to Deshaun Foster and UCLA.
Woo.
So on November 8th of this year, y'all are going to travel to LA to face the Bruins again. You went to the USC game last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this year we need to send you back to UCLA.
Oh, I'm going.
And
to the
an
Rose Bowl.
on-the-field interview with Nico. How many regrets? Because at that point, I mean, we'll be a good ways into the season.
Yeah, that's
How many
true.
regrets do you have? Oh, Tennessee's undefeated right now. How bad
Now,
do you
hold
feel?
on a second. Now, I mean, Alabama fans do not want Conrad to go to any more Alabama games. Nebraska fans are getting that way with her.
You think so?
Well, she went to the USC-Nebraska game.
That's true. It didn't work out.
Yeah, but the year before I went to it was Nebraska, Louisiana Tech, but
No,
they
that
won.
didn't count. No, we're talking conference games.
I've seen it all, Pat. You can't hurt me.
She's so callous.
I am.
Maybe I'll start going to Nebraska games and you can start going to Alabama games.
I will say I'm undefeated at Alabama.
That is true. You are.
How about Auburn games?
No. In 2015, I think, my family, we went to the Auburn-Mississippi State game and they lost that game.
Oh,
but other than that, no.
Because you went to the Auburn Ole Miss
I went to Auburn
game.
Ole Miss. They lost that one too. So I need to, don't send me to Auburn anymore.
Okay, so new plan. I'm going to not go to Alabama games and Molly's going to go to every Auburn game.
That's the new plan.
That's my new plan.
Oh, boy. I remember the November 2nd game.
I'm undefeated at Florida. I was there for the Florida Ole Miss game,
Yeah, Pat doesn't want any part of that one.
Yeah, that was a bad day.
Molly had a great time. Looked like festivities were great.
Yeah.
Atmosphere was great.
Such a fun game. The Swamp is awesome.
I'll never forget
Competitive game.
Mhm.
That afternoon, I was texting a bunch of my family members in Mississippi about the Florida Ole Miss game. And I was like, y'all okay?
It's like us with Don Don this morning.
And they were just like, you know, we're just kind of, honestly, it's almost like when you're having a conversation with Molly about Nebraska. She loves Nebraska.
Thank you.
But she has experienced so many roller coasters.
She's self-aware. She understands.
And that's an Ole Miss fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for those who are just now tuning in the show, I did not go to Ole Miss. My sister went to Ole Miss.
Mhm.
I've got a cousin that was on the All-Century team at Ole Miss. Got a lot of relatives that played at Ole Miss. They joke around that I'm an Ole Miss sympathizer. But texting my relatives that day, they were just almost, it was like, you know, talking to Molly about Nebraska.
Yeah, you can't hurt me.
I mean, they were just like, you know what? This is just so typical.
Mhm.
You know, we hate this. cannot believe we're losing this game.
And that was how the UCLA and the USC games were this past year for us, because we start off the season 5-3. Oh, one more game to go to a bowl game. And then we lost like 5 in a row again.
But you did get your bowl game,
Or
and you
4
won.
in a row. Yeah, we did. Finished 6-6, and we beat Boston College.
Bill O'Brien.
It was great. In the Pinstripe Bowl.
Do you have any memorabilia from that game? Like, did you order a T-shirt because y'all won or anything?
No, not yet. I'll get a T-shirt though. I bet I can find one. I wanted to go, but New York in December is expensive.
That's okay, Molly. At least you don't lose to Vanderbilt.
Or Oklahoma.
I would say Michigan, but we lost to Michigan. So
Yeah, I was about to say. Well, yeah. Sad times.
Yeah.
Sad times.
So you can just, I wonder if Nico will be at Big Ten Media Days.
Surely not.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah, why not?
Do you want to do that if you're Deshaun Foster, though?
Who else are you going to take?
I don't know. Your receiver that's coming back that 200 yards last year. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, boy.
Just take Nico and Big Nick. That'll be it. Don't even send Deshaun Foster. Just let Nico go and represent.
Let Big Nick
him
take
and
care
his
of it.
dad just represent the university.
Wow. All right. Phone lines are open 1-800-239-WJOX. The Courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. Still no official word if Nico is indeed heading to UCLA. That's all the published reports from the West Coast. So we'll see if that happens. 205-834-9450. Dimitri Ravenos is going to join us from Barrett Media at the top of the hour. We'll get his thoughts on Lee Corso calling it quits after 38 years. He's going to have one more broadcast, week 1, August the 30th. We'll see where he ends up. Let's go to the Courtesy GMC text line. Conrad, what's the Vox Populi saying at this moment?
Well, we'll start off where we have someone saying, as a fan of everyone on the show and an Auburn fan, please, please, please do not send Molly to any more Auburn games. They can't handle the heartbreak, Molly. They can't do it. They can't do it. Let's see. We have someone else chiming in. Bama Todd, he says, how mad will the barn be if cheddar bacon lasagna comes to Tuscaloosa? I would say pretty mad. I don't know if I'm wrong, Pat, but I don't remember them being particularly thrilled about the Aiden Holloway news last year, so don't know if this one would go over any better. And
to Aiden Holloway's credit, he just did not shoot the ball very well at Auburn at all.
No.
And I think a lot of Auburn people were, I mean, not that he was a problem, but he just did not produce for them shooting from the outside, unlike he did for Alabama.
And I could see that maybe being some of the frustration with that was, okay, why were you good for Alabama but not for us? And I think that maybe led into a little bit of the fan frustration there with Aiden, at least. Let's see. Okay, I did not. Oh, what the heck? Is there something going on at Florida State?
Yes, there was an active shooter.
Okay. We are getting a lot of text on that. Thank you for the heads up there. Hope everyone is safe and praying that they get that situation resolved soon down there in Tallahassee. Let's see. Somebody, Posey, text in and says, Conrad, you need to get Bucky on the phone. Bacon lasagna could be a good fit there in Aggie land. So if you wanted to stay in the SEC, maybe Texas A&M on the list there for Chad Baker-Mazara. Let's see. Somebody says, love that Terry Bowden leaving was all that it took to interrupt Rush's show. Like that was national news. Going back to the Terry Bowden news and you and Paul breaking that back in the day. Let's see. Johnny says, Don is silly. No one in the right mind saw Chad Baker-Mazara leaving. No one saw this coming.
Well, here's the thing. I distinctly remember leading up to the Final Four that the conversation was basically it sounded like to me they wanted him back.
And it sounded like he also wanted to come back.
I mean, did not Bruce Pearl?
Yes.
He's the one that brought it up, said he's got another year of eligibility because of the whole JUCO ruling, the Diego Pavia and all that kind of stuff. I mean.
Yeah. And Baker-Mazara was also going on his own social media and, responding to those kinds of questions and comments and alluding to the fact that he wanted to come back to Auburn. But I guess money talks. David and Pelham, he says, y'all forgot one of his stat lines, 14 ejections per year for Chad Baker-Mazara. Let's see. Josh in Huntsville says, today in 1951, professional golfer Sam Snead hit a golf ball off of a tee at the home plate in Wrigley Field, hitting the center field scoreboard for the Cubs home opener.
How about that?
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
That's a cool fun fact there about Wrigley. Let's say, somebody calling it Jonathan on Chris's call earlier where he said we don't need to put all of the blame on Nico in this situation. He says, Chris is talking about being fair. I don't have any sympathy for Nico. His dad screwed him, but let him do it. But he let his dad do that. Okay. Let's say, can't say his last name. Hell, I can't say his first name. I think I know why Damian's avoiding Tennessee now. That's right. Tennessee. Damian has he is no longer a Tennessee fan. So maybe he saw the writing on the wall there. Someone says, is Chad Baker-Mazara trying to become the first person to play with his own son in college? Inspired by LeBron, perhaps. Oh, that's funny. Let's see. Someone else chiming in. They say, more like Nico, I am a... Can fill in the blank there if you saw some creative jerseys at the orange and white game from over the weekend. Let's see. Kyle chimes in. He says, you can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but you can't wipe your friends off on the couch. We were going through, because I'd never heard that saying before. So I like that one. That's a good one. Lee texts in. He says, Tennessee needs to make sure that it's reported that whoever they get as quarterback to replace Nico is given $5 million in NIL money, whether it's true or not. I guess Lee's saying he wants them to stick it to Nico and tell him that they were willing to pay his price, just not for him.
You know, we were just talking about Chad Baker-Mazara, and Kevin Skarbinski just pointed this out on social media, and this is pretty amazing. So Alabama played 9 players. Auburn played 10 players. So 19 total players played in this year's IBOB meetings in 2025. Out of those 19 players, how many players currently are due to come back and participate in this year's IBOB?
You said 19?
Mm-hmm.
5.
2.
Aiden Holloway and Aiden Sherrill?
That's it.
Wow.
That's wild. That is wild.
2 of 19.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess I was right earlier when I said I think Aiden Holloway's the only name that most people would probably recognize from either of these rosters for next year. I know some people will say Sherrill, but just think of like the average fan. Okay, let's see. James chimes in. He says, do you guys, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. He says, do you guys still think there's any chance that Nico just sits out a year and then tries to go into the NFL draft? Because that is technically an option on the table for him.
Option on the table, unlikely.
I think that would be a bad option to accept, in my opinion. Let's see. Somebody, this picture won't. I want to know what this picture is. Somebody said they sent in a meme and it's Molly the last time Nebraska won a football championship, but I can't see what it is. I'm sure it was hilarious, though. Thank you, Jake. Let's see. Someone says Lee Corso should finish his career where it started, picking Brutus the Buckeye to beat Texas in the Ohio State-Texas matchup week 1.
If I was a gambling man, which you guys know I'm not, but if I were, I would say they would be in Columbus.
I would bet on that as well. We have somebody, this would be a good Pat Ponders question. They just ask, do vegetarians eat animal crackers? I like that.
I do. That's good.
That's a good question. I love animal crackers.
I know, me too.
But I'm also not a vegetarian, so I can't really help with that. So I just read someone sent in a meme that was Molly the last time Nebraska won a football championship. Jake responded and said, yeah, it won't load because it doesn't exist, just like Molly didn't the last time they won a championship.
Well, that's what I was like, I wasn't alive. Wasn't even a thought.
Touche. That was very, very well done there, Jake. That was that's awesome. But you can continue to chime in here in the last hour of the show. 205-834-9450 get you on the courtesy GMC text line. Chad Baker-Mazara, Nico. Should Chad Baker-Mazara go to Alabama? Whatever you want to talk about, text it in and we'll read it. Pat was trying to stir that up earlier.
I just asked you a question and you said you didn't want him. That's all.
Neither does Don. Neither do the Auburn fans.
No, they're done with him. Time to move on. Also, Aaron Rodgers told Pat McAfee about 30 minutes ago that he is open to anything and attached to nothing. Retirement could still be a possibility. No decision for 2025 has been made as of yet for Aaron Rodgers. Well, a decision has been made on Lee Corso. The 38-year veteran of College Game Day announced this morning that he is retiring from that position. He will have one more broadcast that will be on August the 30th. Location to be determined by the College Game Day crew. He turns 90 years old in August. Coming up next, Dimitri Ravenos will join the program, one of our favorite guests. We'll talk about Lee Corso and about what's next for College Game Day. All that with 1 hour to go. Your calls, your text. This is Three Man Front on a beautiful Thursday on Jocks 94.5. It is 1 o'clock here on Jocks 94.5. This is Three Man Front. Pat, Molly, Conrad with you. We'll take you up to the Paul Feinbaum Show. Landrum Roberts will be back with us on Monday. He's down at the Gulf Coast covering the Beach Volleyball Championships, something that he's always a part of every single late spring. He'll be back with us in studio on Monday. So much to get into in the next 60 minutes of the program. Appreciate you tuning us in. Chad Baker-Mazara went in the transfer portal around 4 hours ago. Auburn guard Chad Baker-Mazara entered the portal. The 6'7" senior totaled 12 points per game, I should say, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He scored 18 points against Florida in the Final Four. This will be his 5th stop if he ends up coming out of the portal and playing for somebody else. He began his career at Duquesne. Then he transferred to San Diego State. He was dismissed by the Aztecs for academic reasons. Then he spent 1 season at Northwest Florida State College before transferring to Auburn 2 years ago. Also, Auburn forward Darren Scott, he has entered the transfer portal, redshirted this past season, as Bruce Pearl hoped that he could be a depth piece in the front court for next season. Aaron Rodgers has told the Pat McAfee Show about 45 minutes ago that in regards to his career, he says he's open to anything and attached to nothing. Retirement could still be a possibility for Aaron Rodgers, but no decision, he said on the show, for 2025 has been determined. It appears that Nico is heading to UCLA, that according to published reports on the West Coast, including Bruce Feldman from The Athletic, but still no official word from UCLA or the Nico camp. The other story, big time in college football, happened this morning when, after 38 years, I should say, Lee Corso has decided to call it a career at ESPN. He'll be 90 years young in August. He'll do one more broadcast. And joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline is a good friend of the program, Dimitri Ravanos, the college football bubble bath. You can see that on TikTok and other social media. Joins us now to talk about Lee Corso. Dimitri, I hope your spring has gone well so far.
No complaints thus far, Pat, but we're very early on. We'll see how it holds up.
You are always traveling somewhere. I am so envious because every time I turn around or these are old pictures and you decide, you know what, I got to clean out my folder and I need to post these. It seems like you and your wife are always venturing out around the world, and I'm very jealous.
Which ones are you looking at? Are you looking at Puerto Rico?
I think that was that the last one?
So I went to Puerto Rico with my wife for our anniversary in March, and literally when we get off the phone, I am picking up my kids from school and headed down to the exotic location of Mobile, Alabama.
Oh, very exotic. Mobile County. That's a good place to be over the holiday weekend. No doubt about it.
They don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't. No, it's just because you've been to South America a few times, right? Or at least
only once, but we
trip.
Stayed for an extended period of time and saw much as we possibly could.
That's why. Yeah. No, see, I follow you. I keep up with you, Dimitri.
He's a loyal watcher, not just the bathtub stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Listen, I am not exaggerating when I say this, Pat. When I get a Pat Smith liked your photo, I really feel like I've accomplished something that day.
Very nice.
He's very selective with that, Dimitri. You should feel honored.
That's right. I mean, I just don't just throw that thing out. So I just wanted to let you know that outside of you being half naked, I like the pictures of you and your family when you're on vacation. Not just the ones of you during the college football bubble bath.
You are what we call in the radio business a P1 of Dimitri Ravanos.
and I appreciate that very much. Okay, so this news comes down, not that America was shocked by this. We all know, and it's been detailed, that he had a stroke back a few years back. I think it was 2009. He was able to go through rehab, and then he was able to come back. And so Lee Corso has been an institution on that program. 38 years, just your thoughts on Lee Corso hanging it up.
I mean, this is going to be one of the most significant moments in the history of ESPN. And I don't say that lightly. I've been thinking about that a lot this morning because what other show on that network is the big deal that it was 30 years ago, right? SportsCenter and Baseball Tonight are shadows of what they used to be. NFL Primetime doesn't exist anymore. Outside the Lines doesn't exist anymore. I think College Game Day really has very few, if any, peers in the space that it occupies in television. And for, guys around our age, I'm 43, like Lee was kind of the first guy I saw on TV that sort of took the attitude of, yes, the coaches are taking this seriously. Yes, the players are taking this seriously, but this is just a game. I'm here to have fun, and so I'm going to put on this duck head today, right? Like it really was a way of experiencing and looking at not just college football, but sports in general that was not particularly prevalent until he started doing it. I don't think that show moves from the studio to a road show, and I don't think it is the event and institution it is when it comes to your campus that it has been for 3 decades, more than 3 decades at this point, if not for him.
So, Dimitri, obviously with Coach Corso, the iconic moments, everyone thinks of the headgear because that was his thing for so many years now. Is that a tradition that you see going away with Coach Corso? They retire it alongside him? Because we've had people, as you can imagine, oh, maybe Nick Saban will start wearing the headgear. Oh, that seems like a Pat McAfee thing. But for me, and I think Pat agrees with this, it seems like it would be the right time to retire that with Lee Corso himself later this year.
Yeah, I agree. I as much as McAfee is a shoot from the hip, and I don't think his producers know what he's going to do from every moment to the next kind of guy, I do think there is a reason that they have been having McAfee lead a sing-along before we go to the headgear. That's going to be the replacement for what is the big moment at the end. Nobody else can do the headgear. It would forever be compared to what it was Lee Corso was doing. And, these last few years, I don't think it is speaking out of turn. I don't think I'm saying something that nobody else has felt. Like, that has been the one moment on the show where Lee Corso feels like Lee Corso. The show has evolved in a way where it feels like, to me, when I watch, they are not doing the show for me at home anymore. That show is for the people that come out, and it's way more of a live event than it is a television show. And because of that, it moves a little bit faster. And Lee looks a little more out of place now that he can't move as quickly as he used to, and certainly as quickly as his colleagues do. The headgear is what has Lee Corso feeling like the old Lee Corso. I think it's the appropriate thing, Conrad, to let it go with him.
Dimitri Ravanos joins us here on Three Man Front talking about the retirement of Lee Corso. All right, so we've been debating where this final broadcast is going to be. Got a lot of really great options. First off, he's a Florida State alum. He was a roommate with obviously Burt Reynolds. They're hosting Alabama. Then you've got the defending national champion Ohio State taking on Texas there in Columbus. That is the location of the first ever road show for College Game Day. And it was the first location of him doing the headgear pick. So where do you think he will end up on August the 30th?
I actually thought this moment was coming last season when they went to Indiana, where he was last a head coach. I think you do the sort of end where it began, and you end it in Columbus, with his final headgear pick being where his first headgear pick happened. I think he has done. Look, Tallahassee and Columbus have both hosted a College Game Day a lot during his career, so neither one is more unique than the other one. But I do think what Florida State is right now, boy, I don't know if you want your last moment with Lee Corso leading into what could be just a beat-em-down situation when Alabama takes the field. I think that Texas-Ohio State game is, A, a little bit of a bigger deal, and B, more tied to what it is we are celebrating about Lee that day.
So, Dimitri, I wanted to ask you, as we move forward, knowing we've got one more show with Lee Corso, and I wouldn't expect anything necessarily this fall. I could be wrong. But do you think moving forward, maybe in 2026, are they going to look to fill that spot? Are they going to bring a new member onto College Game Day? Or do you think this was all part of the process of bringing in a Pat McAfee so that when Lee Corso goes, you have your set, this is the number that it's going to stick at with the usual cast we'll see this fall after Lee Corso's gone?
Yeah, I think it's a great tribute to Lee that it takes two guys to fill his vacancy. And it's not just any two guys, right? It's this ball of energy that is Pat McAfee and the greatest coach that has ever coached football in history. I think that it feels pretty bloated right now, Conrad. I think to try and fill that spot, you are hurting the show more than you're helping it.
In regards to what's going on with the transfer portal, before we let you go, I want to get your thoughts on Nico and the rest of the chaos that is college football.
I mean, look, certainly Nico got some pretty, either he or his dad got some pretty terrible advice and thinking it was a good idea to ask to renegotiate as the team is getting ready to go into the playoff and then to hold out right when you know it is most inconvenient for Tennessee. The one thing I don't like in the conversations about what Nico has done wrong here is I feel like we are leaving out the part where this kind of feels like what the NCAA wanted, right? They, for so long, threw their hands up, even when they knew NIL payments were coming, saying they couldn't do anything. It feels like this moment of chaos is the one they use to sort of start pushing legislation through at the congressional level. And I mean, look, who knows if they are going to come through, but certainly Cory Booker and Ted Cruz have made no secret they would like to work on this. This feels like the kind of inciting moment that they need to be motivated to get it done. So I'm not taking any blame off of Nico. I just think, like, let's make sure we include the NCAA here too, because they set the table perfectly for this to happen.
That is Dimitri Ravenos. Always a great time when we get to catch up with Dimitri. Well, enjoy your time on the Gulf Coast this weekend during the Easter holiday weekend, and hopefully we can catch up with you soon.
Sounds good, boys. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Dimitri. That's Dimitri Ravenos joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. When we come back on Three Man Front, we'll do some Pat Ponders. I got some interesting things to ask both Conrad and Molly on this Thursday. This is Jocks 94.5. Welcome back in. It's three-man front on this Thursday. The Paul Feinbaum Show coming up at the top of the hour. We'll do some Pat Ponders here momentarily. Got a few questions that might spark some interest from our listeners. That's coming up next here on Three-Man Front.
Well, you might be asking yourself, when is the best time to shop for diamonds? And that's actually right now, because April is Diamond Month at Diamonds Direct. Whether you're looking for an engagement ring, a timeless anniversary gift, something special for your mom as Mother's Day is almost here, or even graduation season, they've got it all, and all at amazing prices. Plus, you can get free cleanings and lifetime of upgrades, so that gift will always look brand new. I love this place, so go and check them out for yourself at Diamonds Direct.
All right, let's do this. Brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful off of exit 32, I-459, courtesybirmingham.com. This is Pat Ponders. Brought to you by Courtesy GMC. Visit their website, courtesybirmingham.com. They will not be beat. The best deals you're going to find anywhere in the Southeast, not just Alabama. Southeast is there at Courtesy GMC. Question number 1. This weekend down in Troy, Alabama, the Trojans will be taking on the ULM Warhawks in baseball. A fan favorite at the Troy concession stand will be back on the menu, the Donut Bacon Cheeseburger. If you were at the game, would you order a donut bacon cheeseburger?
Absolutely. When else are you going to order one of those?
Of course. That sounds so good.
Yeah, I don't know where else I would ever find that on a menu, so you have to try stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried anything? Now, we know that you failed the donut challenge.
Correct.
Here on Three-Man Front.
Thank you.
But have you ever tried anything like a sandwich that used donuts as, I guess, what you would classify as the bread portion?
No, unfortunately not. It's been a lifelong dream of mine, Pat, but
I
just
don't
haven't
think
made it there
I have
yet.
either.
I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've never.
So does that sound good to you? Not double. It's just the donut bacon cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely eat that.
I would eat that
100%. Now I might die afterwards immediately of heart failure, but I'm going to eat it. I mean,
I'm going to try it.
now do I want to know how much it costs? Probably not.
Or how many
but
calories?
Definitely don't want to know that.
Let me see if I can get you a price here.
I'm going to guess that sounds like a $20 burger to me at a game, because it's a novelty item,
yeah.
right?
All right, here's the next question.
Okay.
Would you prefer a yeast donut on that burger or a cake donut on that burger?
Yeast.
Yeah. I think cake would
Yeast
be
would be the
too.
equivalent of Krispy Kreme.
Correct.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts
Would be like
is a cake.
I'd probably go yeast, a little lighter. That's a lot of
So
food.
both of you go yeast donut
Yeah.
on top of that?
Yeah. I mean, I like them both, but yeah, if I had to pick one.
Okay. Question number 2.
Are they fresh? That'd be the other thing, because what if you have a donut and it's like a couple hours old? I wouldn't want that as a bun. It's a very important part of
That's
that
true.
equation. I'm just.
So you want a fresh
donut.
hot.
Yeah, like if the
glazed
light's on
donut.
when I walk up to the concession stand, the hot and fresh or whatever, then I'm all good. But otherwise, just crunchy donut.
Question number 2. It has been announced that ESPN will broadcast 10 Savannah Banana games this summer. The slate will include games at Fenway Park, Camden Yards, and at Clemson's Memorial Stadium. Do you guys anticipate that this is going to be a ratings hit for ESPN?
Conrad looks so disappointed.
So let me get this straight. You're ESPN, and you are getting rid of Major League Baseball.
That is correct.
And you want to broadcast the Savannah Bananas.
10 broadcasts this summer, yes.
And you... Okay. That's a whole nother conversation. I think that them getting rid of MLB is one of the dumbest things they've done, and they've done a lot of dumb things recently. But
So Fenway Park and Camden Yards are two of the Major League Baseball parks that will host the Savannah Bananas that ESPN will broadcast, along with Clemson's Memorial Stadium. Would you be okay if they played a game at Bryant-Denny Stadium?
yeah, I mean, I think that's fun. I mean, you would go to the Joe, I guess. I guess unless you just wanted it being in Bryant-Denny. But no, I mean, look, those games sell out months in advance. Like, it's very difficult to get tickets. I know when they came here, people would test it. It's A, it's expensive, and B, you have to get your tickets well in advance. So yeah, I think it'll do well from a rating standpoint. It'll be a fun kind of thing. But like, if I can watch the Savannah Bananas at Fenway Park, that's pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
I will tune in to check that out.
See, and I think so too. Kind of like what Conrad said, their attendance has been insane, honestly, for as long. I mean, it's been kind of a while now. Their numbers have been through the roof.
yeah.
I mean, they sold out Raymond James.
Yeah, they're doing awesome.
Yeah, they're doing awesome. And plus, a lot of people like to see them as kind of like the globetrotters of baseball. Like kids and families enjoy it. So I think they'll do well in the ratings. I think you'll have a lot of families watching it. It's summer. I think they'll do well.
Next question, playing off ESPN. So ESPN personality Stephen A. Smith, he has kicked around the idea that he might run for president. So if Stephen A. Smith runs for president, do you think he would be taken seriously enough to become the Democratic nominee for president?
No.
Molly is a big no. She's over here laughing.
The sad reality is that he is not the worst candidate that they could have. And I think from that standpoint, it would be hard for a lot of people to take him seriously, but in the political climate that we live in, crazier things have happened. I'm sorry, when The Rock is on the odds board for this last presidential cycle, like, can you really take any of it that seriously anymore? So yeah, I mean, I think it's silly, but yeah.
I'm going to say no. And the only reason why I'm going to say no is that because there's a lot of people out there. I mean, we live in a big country that probably don't know who he is, that don't watch sports. So I'm going to say no.
That is a good point.
I mean,
But that might help him, though, because then if you just hear him talk, you're like, maybe this guy has some good ideas and you don't
It could
associate
but to the
that with
average person. I'm like, probably not. They don't know who he is.
What about you, Pat?
I think anything is possible.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Because I will never forget when Donald Trump came down those escalators announcing that he was running for president originally. When he beat Clinton, everybody was like, what? The guy from The Apprentice is running for president? The former owner of the New Jersey Generals of the USFL? What?
I mean, hell, I think Nick Saban probably got more write-in votes than him, but technically, I mean, there were people that voted for Kanye West to be the president of the United States 4 years ago.
That is true.
That was a legitimate presidential campaign that he tried to run, and people voted for him. And I'll wear his shoes.
Anything is possible.
It is. I'll wear his shoes. I'm not going to vote for him for president. So anything's possible.
All right, next question. On this National Kickball Day, what old school game was your favorite during PE in elementary school?
Nukem.
Okay.
See, I liked kickball, and this isn't like a PE game, but I loved tetherball. That was my favorite.
Tetherball was good.
I never got in. I just always associate that with Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. No, I love tetherball.
So Nukem was your favorite.
Oh, yeah, because you got to just peg people with foam balls. It was awesome.
Oh, and I liked horse. That was a fun one.
Because they didn't let us use, I don't know about you growing up. Well, okay, so for Pat, when you were in PE growing up and y'all played dodgeball, did you use the real rubber balls that kind of hurt?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
See, we didn't.
We didn't either.
We used the foam ones.
Yeah, by that time, they were like, oh, you're going to hurt somebody.
So what's the point of playing dodgeball?
I did love dodgeball too, though.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
Well, and that's what Nukem was essentially, it was like dodgeball, but you had like these, they're almost like Nerf balls, but like foam.
And they like varied in size.
Yeah, and some of them, I mean, if you get popped in the face, it's going to sting a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it was essentially.
I used to love dodgeball.
So you mean to tell me that when y'all were in school, y'all didn't use real dodgeballs?
No, because they're worried about people getting hurt. And to be fair, would I have tried to hurt somebody just like it? Yes, you're going to try. Yeah, you're going to try to hit them as hard as you can.
It builds character, Conrad.
I agree.
That explains a lot with you and Molly. Both the way you are.
Well, that's like the story I was telling Molly and Landrum the other day about how when I was 8 years old at baseball practice, our coach said, a lot of you guys seem to be scared of the ball. So at 8 years old, we went in a batting cage. He turned the pitching machine on and said, you're going to sit there and you're going to take it until you're not scared of the ball anymore. And it worked. But you couldn't do that now. But it worked.
That's so funny.
I'm not scared of a baseball.
So what other options did you have in PE to play?
Shuffleboard.
Shuffleboard?
No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say, we didn't.
I was like, I didn't play that.
No, I'm
didn't have
kidding.
that.
We did do The one that always got the biggest laugh was badminton.
Oh yeah.
We did that.
We had like a jump rope
Because of
thing.
shuttlecocks.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly why.
Do you remember those boards that we used to have to sit on? Do you remember those?
No.
The little like roller boards.
Oh yeah,
You'd always
yeah,
get your fingers stuck in them?
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
hated
We would
those.
play. Did y'all play crab soccer?
What?
Where you have to, crab walk, where you have to, get on all fours like that, and you walk around, and you play soccer. Yeah.
I don't think I played that.
We played that when we played crab soccer. What else did
We played normal soccer.
What else did we do? We did bowling.
We did bowling.
I'm not kidding.
Like lawn bowling? Or did y'all like have plastic pins?
Yeah,
They
I
were
mean, it was like,
plastic,
yeah.
We played that
But we
too.
do it in the gym, but no, that was, I'm trying to, oh no, the best one though, and by best, I mean worst. I'm not kidding you. Every year in middle school, we did square dancing.
Now, that was always one particular time of the year. Did you ever have to do that?
No, I was just thinking of something funny that
No,
we had
I mean,
to do though.
no,
in
we
high
had
school.
we
You
did
did
that
that
too.
too?
We did that too. It was always one particular. It wasn't like all year. It was like one small section.
We do it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was it.
We did that in middle school, but I remember when I was in high school, all the freshmen had to take PE, and we did yoga as one of our subjects, I guess. And I just remember they made all the boys stand in front of the girls.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they did. That's smart. Yeah, I remember we had we did the square dancing, and one year we tried to convince our PE teacher. We were in like 6th grade maybe. We tried to convince her, hey, square dancing's kind of lame to like 10-year-olds. Can we try to do
break dancing?
The equivalent of what like the popular TikTok dances would be today.
Oh, yeah.
But back then it was like the Soulja Boy and
like
stuff.
the whip and nay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And even before that. And I remember, I forgot what the first one was, but we did one day and we had fun with it. And so the next day we were like, can you teach us how to do the Soulja Boy? And if you know what that is, or you know what the song is, she refused to let us do that. We were very upset because we're like, why? And she's like, it's so inappropriate. You're 10. And we're like, I don't care. Can we learn how to do the Soulja
Right.
Boy? And no. So we had to go back and do square dancing because we wanted to learn the Soulja Boy instead. And we couldn't do that.
The other thing we did in PE, I don't know if you guys did it, was a big parachute in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
And you would lift the parachute up.
Yes,
And
I
then
used
you
to
would
love that.
You would run underneath the parachute.
But they took that away at one point when I was growing up because, oh, well, you could try to trap somebody under there and it would cause a problem. Boo-hoo.
We always did that.
I always thought that was fun.
Yeah.
I liked that one.
That's today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Go to their online inventory at courtesybirmingham.com.
I can't believe y'all didn't play crab soccer.
I don't remember that.
What kind of
I
curriculum were y'all on?
Don't remember that either. Was that after your cave accident?
No, I would not have been able to do it after that.
More three-man front. This is Jocks 94.5. We'd love to hear from you on the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. Myriad of topics. Nico, Lee Corso stepping down at College Game Day. What's happening with Nico? Your favorite game in PE in elementary school, all that fun stuff. We will take your text. I do have a message for you if you're a homeowner. Got a leaky roof or just thinking about an upgrade? Listen up, because did you know that Abide Roofing boasts a perfect 5-star rating on Google? Don't just take my word for it. Check out what your neighbors are saying about Abide Roofing. One happy homeowner raves. Abide Roofing did an amazing job from start to finish. Another one says they were very quick to come out and work closely with my insurance for a complete roof replacement. The work was fast, professional, looks amazing. And it gets better. These Google reviews go on and say they cleaned up everything, no hassle. Plus, even after several storms, their new roof is holding up beautifully. And get this, their team, like Alex, even checks to make sure that we are completely satisfied. I can speak from experience myself. Travis Lloyd and his local roofing team, they're absolute pros. They handled my new roof replacement like just clockwork. It was done in a matter of a couple days. Efficient, stress-free, and that's even more important if you're a homeowner. Outstanding customer service, excellent workmanship with top quality materials, punctual and flawless to the finish. That's the Abide Roofing promise. Ready for your roofing experience that you can trust 100%? That's where Abide Roofing comes in. Call them today at 205-922-7134. That's 205-922-7134. Or go to their website, abideroof.com. Don't wait. Give your home the protection it deserves with Abide Roofing. To the text lines we go. Courtesy GMC 205-834-9450. What is the very latest, Conrad, in the wonderful world from our listeners?
Yeah, to the crab soccer hotline we go. I can't wait. I'm sure everyone here has played crab soccer except for y'all. Let's see. We have somebody. Okay, they say we had to climb the rope and we had a rock wall with no safety equipment at their gym. I will say in my elementary school gym, we did have one of those where you had a rope and it was attached to the ceiling and it was about 30, 40 feet up there.
And all you had was a small, thin gym mat.
Gym mat.
And that was
had
it.
That too.
That's me too.
I was so good at rope climbing because I did gymnastics back then. So I had the upper body strength and I could go all the way to the top.
Did y'all ever have somebody get seriously injured, like they fell or lost their grip or something and got hurt?
No.
Not that I remember.
Me neither. And that's so crazy that, I don't know. I just feel like that's something that's ripe for injury. And I never really heard any horror stories from that. I'm sure someone has them, but yeah, it's just some of the things that they wouldn't let you do. And then you're like, but I can climb this rope to the top and okay. All right, sure. So yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. Someone chimes in playing dodgeball with foam balls. Who's ever heard of such a thing? Kids these days are just soft. Back in my day, we played with bricks. I'm just kidding.
That's funny.
That's awesome. Hey, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Let's see. Somebody says, if Stephen A. is elected president, I would move to Canada. I can't stand him as a sports reporter, and I could care even less as a president. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. So this wasn't I guess it was kind of a PE thing. Jump rope for heart.
Yeah, we
Was
did
that
that.
a big thing?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever, did y'all have to sell, we did cookie dough too for PE stuff?
I never had to do that.
We'd go and sell that.
I think the cheer team did that, but we never did that.
I just remember when I was growing up, you know, because you'd have like prizes that you could win based on how many donations you got. And it was always like the big one was a Razor scooter and everyone would freak out. No one would ever even get close to it.
My middle school up in Michigan, like once a year or maybe twice a year. Do you remember the ripsticks? They were kind of the skateboards. We had a ripstick day because our gym was huge and everyone got a ripstick and we got to learn how to do that.
See, that's like peak childhood right there. That's like the best day of your life.
I was so good at it because I have really good balance. It was awesome.
I forgot about the ripstick.
Yeah, we had ripstick day.
Let's see. Oh, man. Okay. Somebody chimes in. He says, no one fell off the rope at my school, but in high school, we had a kid fall off the mezzanine about 25 feet up, slammed right onto the gym floor. Everyone went silent. He then hobbled off, and we didn't see him again for like 5 weeks.
Ouch.
That doesn't sound great. Mike in Huntsville says he's questioning everything he knows about me playing crab soccer. Hey, I just did what I had to do to make an A in the class, right? I did what I had to do.
Now, please explain this crab soccer again to me. I'm trying to visualize this.
Okay. Okay, so you essentially you put your arms. This isn't a good. It's hard on this camera view.
Hey, Justin, come here.
It's hard on the camera view. What do you want me to do?
No, just stand up and take the mic with you and try to explain. Have you ever heard of crab soccer?
Yes.
You have heard of crab soccer?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so Justin knows what crab soccer is. We're good.
You've heard of it?
I do.
Can you explain it? Because he's been trying to explain it to us.
Have you ever crab walked?
Show me.
It's not easy. Yeah? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, I didn't do that.
I don't think I did that either.
Yeah. Okay. See, thank you, Justin. I'm glad I'm not the only one here that's played weird PE events.
Way to go, Justin.
Thank you.
For those watching on YouTube, it's one of our YouTube sensation stars, Justin Armstrong, ladies and gentlemen.
That was an excellent display of athleticism there by Justin.
Now, why couldn't you explain? I mean, that took him 2 seconds.
Because I couldn't get up and do it. Because I'm physically...
But you're working out now.
On the show. What? I meant I'm trying to be on the show and talk while doing it. But yes, thank you, Pat.
I've noticed.
I know.
I'll say I couldn't say that to Molly. I'd get in trouble. But I can say that to you.
Thank you. I've been trying to better myself, and my wife appreciates it.
Well, I mean, I know you're getting ready for Speedo season, so that's important.
That's right. That's right. Let's see. Okay, Posey chimes in, says I played crab soccer as well. Okay, good. So I'm
well, now that you saw it, did you guys do that?
See, I don't remember.
Now, we didn't do that, but I've seen that before.
But did you crab walk? Like, did you ever have to do that as an exercise?
Yeah, crab walk. I don't remember crab soccer.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of those things where even as a kid, it was like,
it was stupid.
Are we sure we're gonna do this? Okay,
Yeah.
we're doing this. All right.
There wasn't a lot of soccer being played at my school. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay, that's fair. Let's see. Someone else says, all right, I loved crab soccer. Everyone knew it was a good day when the giant ball for crab soccer was on the court. Okay, there we go. We have a fan.
So it's a larger than normal soccer ball.
Yes. Okay, that would also have been a good thing to say.
You kind of left that out.
Yeah, I did. It is not a regular soccer ball.
So is it like bigger than a beach ball?
I would say it's beach ball size.
You know what? I think I did play this.
That's good.
Oh, now it's coming back to her. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like a regular soccer
No, it's
ball.
like a pretty big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I think I maybe did.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Maybe.
There's a lot of strange things that
there were
that I'm sure we did in PE. Let's see. Someone else says, okay, yeah, don't worry, Conrad. I know what crab soccer is. Just never had to play it in high school. Let's see. Someone brings up. I think you said this, right, Molly? The scooter boards.
Yes.
Where you would sit down and I mean, everyone smashed their fingers and it was awful. Yes. I certainly remember those as well. I completely forgot about this. All right. Thomas chimes in. He says, did you guys remember taking the presidential fitness test in elementary school?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember most vividly where you'd have to stretch and they would tape the ruler to the floor and you'd have to see how far over you could bend and how high you could touch on the ruler.
It was like how many sit-ups you could do too.
Pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, how fast you could run a mile, all that stuff. That was, I don't know about y'all, that was how you were popular growing up, right?
If you had a good score.
If you were like the representatives for the presidential fitness stuff at my high school or my elementary school, those were the popular kids. I did not qualify for that. I couldn't do pull-ups. I was really bad at pull-ups. I still am. Let's see. Josh in Huntsville says, my baseball coach made my teammate and I crab walk a mile as punishment for missing practice one day.
That's brutal.
Oh, yeah, that would be rough. That would be rough. Let's see. Collins of Pell City he said, we also had the seat scooters and we would also play hockey with plastic hockey sticks. Lots of busted knuckles. We never did that.
I think we played hockey.
Oh, that'd be fun.
In Michigan.
Like real hockey or field hockey?
No, like field hockey.
Yeah. That we got what was it called? Ultimate Frisbee. That got really big when I was in middle school and high school.
I played that in college. That was one of our sports that we played for the intramural sports championship. Like fraternities were playing graduate school in Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah, that was that got really big because once we got to high school, because I think this is how it is for most people, right? You stop PE stop like if you play a sport, you don't do PE anymore, right? You go to athletics, and so we would work out before school, and we'd have a free period, and we would go play ultimate frisbee, and that's what it came. Do
you guys remember shuttle run? Did you ever have to do that, where they would put the erasers?
Oh yeah,
and then you'd have to do the.
Oh yeah,
basically running gators.
Oh
yep.
yeah.
Remember that?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. Let's see. Someone says a good portion. Nick from Chelsea says good portion of my middle school PE activities. He says he graduated high school in 2018 consisted of playing Just Dance on the Wii and P90X videos. I remember
those.
P90X. I had so many friends that were so committed to doing that, and it was like, I don't think this is for 15-year-olds. Do you remember that?
So they were actually doing Wii for PE?
I never experienced that. But
we had that, but it was only on like the day before Christmas break.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never.
Like the last day of school.
We never did that. Let's see. Posey says, I'll leave that one out there. So, I get it, Posey. It was a joke about my alma mater. Let's. I can't read some of these.
He's pulling a Landrum on us, Molly.
Well, Lee chimes in. He says, at my elementary school, we played a popular game where someone would have a football and everyone else would tackle them.
Yeah, and it rhymes with smear.
Well, that is part of the name. Yeah.
Yeah, smear. Yeah.
Yep, I played that one as well. That was popular.
Were you tackled a lot?
Touche. God, this has been brutal to get through. Let's see.
Man, you set me up for that.
I
one.
know.
I couldn't resist that one. That was too easy.
DJ Pip can't read. These are so good though.
Just do this. Just do a screenshot. That's what Landrum does.
Yeah.
Like all the ones that Landrum.
I'm gonna have to do that.
I want to read all of them.
Landrum will do a screenshot and he'll like save them for later.
Yeah.
Let's see. Someone says their favorite old PE activity was wall ball with the tennis ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids still do that at the ballpark a good bit.
Yeah, I was about to say that's what we did growing up. Like if you were waiting around after your practice or whatever, you go play wall ball. Let's see. Jody texts in. She says, or Jody, they say we did square dancing for 3 weeks, then ballroom dancing for 3 weeks in 8th grade, and the girls got to pick their partners. See, ours was random.
Ours was too. Ours was completely
Ours
random.
was random, and I was never happy with my partner. I'll just say that. I don't know many people that were.
No.
So yours were random too?
Yeah, ours were random.
Yeah, that was always an awkward day. Hey, do you want to trade? Yeah, that was always a fun one. Hastings chimes in and says, definitely played crab soccer. Very underrated physical activity. We also dug holes, which helped build character.
Wait. Hastings says they dug holes?
Yeah,
was it like the
the
maintenance crew come out and say, hey, I got a fun game. I'm gonna give you a shovel and we need you to dig some holes.
Go over there.
So I had there was a coach at our school who will remain nameless, and he was not happy with our effort one day in athletics when we were working out. And so he had us go outside, and I'm not kidding you, we had to go outside and punch ant beds to build character.
Wait a second.
No, I'm being dead serious. No.
So you're taking your own fist
and you are punching ant beds. I'm not kidding you. And then afterwards, we had to stand with our arms like this, pointed up, and you had to hold them, and that gets tiring after a few minutes. And we would do that for about 5 to 10 minutes. But yeah, no, he literally took us outside and he got on the ground. And he said, I want you to get at those. And he just punching an ant bed. And he's like, I want each one of you getting down there. It builds character.
It makes perfect sense now why you dove in the cave. You tried to end it all.
Heard of that.
After going through all that in high school.
It was a bizarre
punching.
He would also follow us around because we had at Hayden, all of the schools connected on like a back road, and it would lead, and so you could walk from school to school, and then the track was up there behind everything. And so we would run from the high school all the way down past the middle school, past the elementary school, up to the track, run around the track, and then go back. He would follow us around in a golf cart with a defibrillator and a megaphone I hope I don't have to use this on you. I'm charging it up right now. And that was our motivation, was he would heckle us on a megaphone while he drove around with the defibrillator in his golf cart.
Did he have a cigarette hanging out of his mouth when he was driving in the golf cart?
He did not.
Conrad, where are you from?
Hayden, Alabama, baby.
All right, we will continue with your text messages. We'll lead you up to the Paul Feinbaum Show. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. Molly, I think the last segment of the show kind of shows me and you exactly what we're dealing with Conrad on a daily basis.
Yeah. I just will never get over you having to punch Ant-Man.
Builds character.
Yeah.
Or so we were told.
It sure does.
We will finish the show with your text messages at 205-834-9450 on the Courtesy GMC text line. The Paul Feinbaum Show is coming up at the top of the hour. And this all stems from today is National Kickball Day. And so one of my questions to Pat Ponders was, what was your favorite sport played in PE? So we've gotten a lot of people chiming in, shuttle run, tetherball, dodgeball. Did you guys play Foursquare? You remember Foursquare?
I love Foursquare.
Oh, yeah.
Foursquare was one. And so then Conrad starts going down this dark rabbit hole of of crab soccer and punching ant beds.
It's traumatic PE experience.
And for anybody that's asking themselves right now this question, the answer is yes. Even if you punch an ant bed, they will still bite you. The punches do not scare them off. They will still get on your hand, and it will hurt.
And if I understand this correctly, the individual that made you do this, I'm not going to say anymore.
Yeah, we don't want to go down that.
I'm not going to identify him.
Yeah. But no, I mean, look, I love the guy. Like, I'd never had a problem with him personally. He just had some very bizarre methods, and yeah. But you know what? We're here now. It's all fine. So let's see. Getting back to your text, though, somebody chimes in. They say, I was just chubby, so I rested until it was time to to get out of PE. Let's see. Justin texted in. He says, we did bowling with rubber bowling balls in the gym. Had to have people stand behind the pins to set them up and stop the ball from hitting the wall. Our PE coach was the basketball coach, and if the bowling ball hit the wall, everyone got a paddling.
Oh.
Wow.
So was there paddling still going on at your school when you were in school?
Yep.
Mine too.
Think so?
Did you ever get paddled?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I did.
I got paddled one time.
What'd you do?
It's a story.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll hold it until Landrum gets back. Landrum loves spanking stories.
Yeah, it's a whole kind of ordeal. Let's see. We have somebody says, did anyone else play rag ball?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Remind me that sounds familiar.
Rag ball used to do it at the ballpark too. Like either with a tape ball or kind of a.
Gotcha. Did you ever, this is something we've picked up, I guess, towards the end of my time in high school with our baseball team. But if we had, whatever, time after practice or killing time between a doubleheader, would y'all ever play golf with your baseball bats? And
Sure.
You would go and throw a hat somewhere and make it the pin, and you'd go out there and play baseball golf?
Mm-hmm.
That was always a big time. Let's see. Someone says hacky sack.
Oh, I was always terrible at that.
I was terrible at hacky sack. Someone, Posey says, did your coach love Van Damme movies? Probably so. Let's see. FJF tweets in or texts in, I taught elementary PE for a little while, and we called it crab scoop or crab scoot because I would let them scoot on their hindies instead of lifting it up to make it easier and more fun for the kids. We would use multiple balls, and we would play never ending in the whole gym. See, that sounds like that's fun. If it's just chaos and everyone's out there, someone's going to get kicked in the face probably, but when you're a kid, it's fine. Let's DG says we used to play gym hockey with a taped up can of Skull because our coach dipped and we couldn't afford a ball.
That's good.
Oh, that's awesome. Smokey says, Pat, if all coaches are liars, then what are social media dads? That's a good one.
That's really good.
Let's see. Yep, some more. Let's see, Conrad, what character did punching ant beds build? I don't know. That's a good question. That is a good question. Let's see. Someone says, yeah, why did your parents not sue the high school? That sounds like that could have been abuse. Well, it's all fun and games. I'm not going to sue anybody over that. Build character. Maybe put me in where I am today. Let's see. Andrew says, as parent of 2 in Jimson schools, you have to now sign a paper saying your kids are allowed to be paddled. So yes, it is still a thing even today, but I guess you have to get permission. Whereas when I was growing up, as far as I know,
it was like, go to the office.
It was fair game. You did something wrong. It was happening.
See, that never happened to me.
Let's see. Someone says we had a coach in high school who drove a Ford Pinto that about 10 of us could pick up, and we would hide it around the school campus and then watch him look for it every day. That's awesome. That's so good. All right, we got time for a couple more. Someone says we played Tiger Ball. It was a mix of soccer and ultimate frisbee. It was a ton of fun, and you played it with a volleyball. Okay, that sounds fun. And then someone else said they used to play Red Rover. That was a game. By the time I came around, you couldn't do that anymore.
You couldn't do Red Rover?
We played that.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to do that.
I don't think I play it anymore, though.
Clothesline somebody or something.
Okay.
So.
Well, we appreciate all the wonderful texts, tweets, phone calls that we've gotten over the last 4 hours. The fun and frivolity will continue with Paul Feinbaum coming up in just a matter of moments. We appreciate everybody tuning us in. Tomorrow, Wimp Sanderson, Barrett Salee, some other guests we got on tap. Stay tuned next. It's Paul Feinbaum from Molly Conrad Lantern. I'm Pat. Have a good afternoon.